Good evening, everyone. I'm calling to order the Housing Authority of the City of Salem for Monday, September 22nd, 2025. Will the recorder please call the roll?
Commissioner Tigan is absent. Commissioner Matthews?
Here.
Vice Chair Gwynn?
Here.
Commissioner Brown?
Present.
Commissioner Vang?
Here.
Commissioner Nordijk?
Here.
Commissioner Varney? We can't hear you.
She said she's here, but she is mute, I think.
Resident Commissioner Villegas is absent, and Chair Nishioka.
I'm present, thank you. Will everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Vice Chair, do we have any additions or deletions for tonight's agenda?
There are none.
Thank you. Our interim city manager would like to make a statement, so we're going to listen to her.
Thank you, Chair Nishioka. I want to take a minute to recognize a remarkable achievement within the Salem Housing Authority. Nicole Utz and Jessica Blakely have earned the prestigious Certified Management Executive designation from the National Association of Housing and Redevelopment Officials. This certification represents leadership, excellence, and deep expertise in housing and redevelopment. Nicole and Jessica are the only two individuals in Oregon to hold this certification, and only 38 professionals nationwide have reached this level. So their achievement is truly exceptional. Congratulations to both of you. And their work consistently demonstrates dedication to the community, ensuring that housing programs are effective, equitable, and responsive to residents' needs. Their leadership not only advances the mission of the Salem Housing Authority, but also sets a benchmark for others in the field. So please join me in congratulating Nicole Utz and Jessica Blakely for this outstanding achievement. Congratulations again.
Congratulations. What an honor. Thank you very much. We sincerely appreciate you here in Salem. There's no one signed up for public comment. So, Vice Chair?
I move approval of the consent calendar.
Thank you. And to your motion?
I was going to wait for a second.
Councillor Brown, Councillor Vang?
I'll second.
Thank you. Or Commissioner Vang, excuse me. So it's been moved and seconded by Commissioner Vang. To your motion?
Our consent calendar consists of the August 25th, 2025 draft Salem Housing Authority minutes. And, sorry. Yeah, which is 3.3A, and then no, that was 3.1A. And then 3.3A, which is adopt resolution number 2320, approving Salem Housing Authority's consolidated operating budgets for fiscal year 2025 and 2026, and authorize the commission chair to execute the HUD public housing budget certification.
Thank you. Any questions, anything? Will the recorder please call the roll?
Commissioner Brown?
Aye.
Commissioner Vang?
Aye.
Commissioner Nordijk? Commissioner Varney? You're still muted. We can see that she said aye. Commissioner Matthews?
Aye.
Commissioner Tigan is absent. Vice Chair Gwynn.
Aye.
Resident Commissioner Villegas is absent. Chair Nishioka.
Aye. Thank you. We have no public hearings, no special orders of business, so we are to information reports, and it looks like Ms. Utes is coming up to the podium.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. I'm Nicole Utes, Director of Housing for Salem Housing Authority. The Program Management Report this month is full of important statistics and updates for you all. But tonight, I'd like to take a moment to reflect more broadly on the season and the work behind those numbers. As we welcome the beginning of fall, our team is energized by the change in season. We look forward to rain. Summer is traditionally one of the busiest times for Housing Authority, and this year was no exception. Balancing high workloads with need for work-life wellness is always a challenge, especially when more than 9,000 residents rely on us every day. This summer in particular has been one of our most demanding. We're proud to welcome many new members to the SHA team. In fact, 40% of our staff are newer, meaning 2 to 3 years or less, and while 60% are tenured out of the total of 64 employees that we have at the Salem Housing Authority. This influx of new talent has required a tremendous investment in training and onboarding, and our management team has stepped up to meet this challenge with dedication and resilience. The past month, in particular, has flown by, filled with many meaningful activities and milestones. We've completed several management occupancy reviews conducted by OHCS. We participated in back-to-school events to ensure our youngest residents were equipped for a strong start to the school year. We have expanded our family self-sufficiency programs and launched a resident services pilot program in our own properties and managed housing. And we're proud to send some of our youngest residents to Camp Rosamond at the Oregon coast, a first-time experience for many of them. These initiatives reflect our unwavering commitment to the SHA's mission. It takes every single team member to keep the wheels turning, and I'm deeply grateful for the work of our staff every day. This past month also brought exciting developments in our regional partnerships. SHA attended the grand opening of Carson Commons in Dallas, Oregon. At the event, we had the pleasure of meeting Christopher Patterson, our new HUD regional director. He expressed strong support of expanding affordable housing access, promoting community revitalization, increasing homeownership opportunities, which excites us. Carson Commons is a 20-unit apartment community with 19 one-bedroom units and 1 two-bedroom unit. 9 of these units will support young adults transitioning out of supervised housing, youth housing, foster care, and homelessness. We're encouraged to see our partners in the Willamette Valley expanding into affordable and permanent supportive housing solutions so those individuals can remain in their communities they wish to. SHA also participated in the groundbreaking ceremony for the first community land trust in Salem, sponsored by Dev Northwest and supported by grants from City of Salem and OHCS. This initiative will bring critical, needed, affordable home ownership opportunities to our community, and we look forward to collaborating through our FSS program to help residents achieve that long-term housing stability and home ownership. I'm pleased to also inform you that after years of advocacy for change, we were notified of potential reliefs to RAD, Rental Assistance Demonstration for Public Housing Properties that converted under RAD, may now request a one-time good cause waiver to use of the standard for calculating rents by demonstrating cost increases outside our control and are causing severe financial strain in our projects. When we approached this topic with HUD headquarters 3+ years ago, we were informed this would literally take an act of Congress. And I'm pleased to stand here tonight to be able to say that Salem Housing Authority and Jessica Blakely took that challenge on and never let down on the advocacy for change for this program. This could equal a substantial increase to our RAD portfolio budgets. Even more importantly, we will be able to help those individuals in need of housing support that we couldn't even pay $1 of assistance due to the fact that our rents were too low, even for the lowest income residents in our area. I would also like to point out tonight in the Section 8 portion of your packet that in July of this year, we pulled 200 names from our Housing Choice Voucher waiting list for lease-up for the first time since 2023. Unfortunately, of those, 86 were returned as undeliverable, and 65 individuals did not respond, leaving only 49 families for us to continue to work with. We're notably understanding that 43% of the mailings were returned as undeliverable, and those names have now been removed from the list. Although clients are responsible for keeping their mailing addresses up to date as the primary way we notify them when they reach to the top of the waiting list, we are finding that we need to look for a better solution. We are looking for options to try to use email communication as our world goes into technology. We're finding that the mail system is slower these days than it has in the past, and we're finding increased costs due to the mailing and the continual undeliverable returns. So again, we're looking for a cost-efficient way to reduce that and make sure that we're reaching everybody we need to. With that, I'd like to thank you for your time this evening and for your continued support of the Salem Housing Authority. We remain committed to our mission and are excited for the work ahead this fall.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have any statements or questions for Nicole? Commissioner Brown.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Director, again, congratulations to you and your staff. It's always great to see us ranking in a very top percentage. Is this a good time to ask you about the Shop with the Cop? Can we ask? Sure. That is a great program. It's the first time hearing about it. Would you mind giving us a highlight view of that, please?
So we do two Shop with the Cops. We do Shop with a Cop during the holidays, which we've been a part of for over 20 years. We started with 25 children from Parkway Apartments 2 decades ago, and we've continued to work with that program, which is now considered Believe in Your Community. And we've grown now to where Salem Housing Authority is a big part of the coordination of that large event, which is over 600 children from Marion County Housing, CASA of Oregon, and many other partners of ours, Marion County Housing Authority. We've streamlined that program to where families can get online, make sure that they can add their children to those events. And then we do back to school Shop with a Cop right before the school year starts. And it's a very exciting, it's a lower number of anywhere from 150 to 200 children, but they do receive ability to shop with an officer to get all those necessary new school clothes, shoes, stuff to get back into the school year on a right foot.
Well, thank you for sharing. I had no knowledge that it even existed, and so when I was reading the report, I was really impressed, especially just the collaboration you have with other entities, so it's not just Salem.
Yes.
And can you mind just sharing that so folks in the audience know, like, the other partners that you're working with?
Absolutely. Well, we have many partners. We probably have 100 partners that we work with on a regular basis.
Oh, well, we'll be fine with 5. Just name us 5.
But for Shop with a Cop, the biggest partners at the table are Salem Police, the Marion County Sheriff's Office, CASA, and then Marion County Housing Authority, and then Salem Housing Authority, and then I believe the Salem Police Domestic Violence Unit and Marion County Parole and Probation. But that also draws in partnerships from law enforcement that come in from all the way up from Mount Angel to that program also assists children up in the canyon. And that one specifically is for Marion County alone, even though our children from Polk County can be sent over to that one. There is also another smaller version of that that is held in Walmart in Dallas for Polk County.
Again, thank you for the great work to you and your team. And it's a breath of fresh air just to know that, we got some very strong Shaw team. So again, thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Anyone else? I would like to just say thank you again to Jessica about the RAD program. That is fantastic. And I also am really encouraged that you're finding housing for youth This is probably one of those sections that are very hard to get a hold of and then find housing for. So thank you for those efforts. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you.
If there's nothing else, there is, that concludes our meeting.
Thank you.
Can we just take a pause?
So we're going to take a 5-minute break before urban renewal starts, just to see if we can support Councillor Varney and the audio trouble.
All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome back. I'd like to call to order the Urban Renewal Agency meeting for Monday, September 22nd, 2025. Will the recorder please call the roll?
Board Member Tigan is absent. Board Member Nishioka?
I'm here.
Board Member Matthews?
Here.
Board Member Gwynn?
Here.
Board Member Brown?
Present.
Board Member Vang?
Here.
Board Member Nordike?
Here.
Board Member Varney is present online. Chair Julie Hoy?
Here. Great. Councillor Nishioka, do we have any additions or deletions to the agenda?
We do not.
Thank you. We are moving on to public comment. Do we have anyone signed up? No one signed up for public comment, and we're moving on to the consent calendar. Councillor Nishioka, to the consent calendar, please.
Thank you. I move for approval of the consent calendar.
Second.
Motion and a second by Gwynn. Please go ahead.
Thank you. The consent calendar consists of the August 25th, 2025 draft Urban Renewal Agency minutes, and that completes the consent calendar.
Thank you very much. We have no one sick.
We need to make a vote.
Okay. Will the recorder please call the roll?
Board Member Matthews?
Aye.
Board Member Gwynn?
Aye.
Board Member Brown?
Aye.
Board Member Vang?
Aye.
Board Member Nordike?
Aye.
Board Member Varney? Aye. Board Member Tigan is absent. Board Member Nishioka?
Aye.
Chair Julie Hoy?
Aye. Motion passes. We have no resolutions, no action items, no public hearings. We do have a special order of business, and I believe we have a presentation. Come on down.
I think we're going to get something, but I'm going to start and then my team's going to come up. So, oh, can you not hear me? Thank you, Dan. Good evening, Chair and board members. I'm Dana Decline, the Assistant Director of Urban Development. In April, Moss Adams, now Baker Tilly, completed a performance audit for the Salem Urban Renewal Agency. A key recommendation of the audit was to develop a strategic plan to guide the future of the use of urban renewal. Staff took this recommendation and researched urban renewal agencies across Oregon, and we discovered that only one URA agency has a strategic plan that provides a holistic guide of how URAs are implemented in the city. This lack of strategic plans is likely due to the requirement that each URA must have its own plan and report detailing goals, priorities, and project lists for each specific district. We're happy to engage with consultants to create a full-blown strategic plan, or alternatively, we could take a different approach and staff could create a policy guide that directs how this tool will be utilized in the future for the city. Tonight, we have URA project managers Sarah Long and Tori Banford here with us. They will provide an overview of the current URA areas and how this tool is utilized through the city now. After their presentation, we'll open the floor for questions. Ultimately, we're hoping to receive some input about what they envision the strategic plan to look like. And Sarah, you are up.
Good evening, agency. Sarah Long, Urban Development Division of the Community Planning and Development Department. I am still getting used to that, even though it's been a year and a half, so my apologies. It's very long. So I'm going to kind of start us off, and then I'll hand it over to Tori. Let's see here. I have not done council in here before, so there we go. So just a little orientation to begin with. Most of you are already aware, but for those of us joining us, I want to make sure urban renewal can be kind of tricky, so I tried to provide some context for things. We currently have 8 urban renewal areas within the city of Salem, and as you're aware, out of those 8, 2 of them actually no longer are collecting tax increment. So although we have funds for those urban renewal areas and we're able to continue doing projects, they're not impacting any of the overlapping taxing districts, including the general fund. So that's McGillcrest and Fairview that aren't currently collecting. And as I believe was part of the update that you just recently had, both North Gateway and Mill Creek will be coming up on that time as well, where they're no longer collecting from the overlapping taxing districts, but then again, we'll continue to have funds and be able to continue doing projects until those funds go away. So urban renewal, just at its highest level, especially for people that aren't as familiar with the tool, it really is a tool to stimulate investment in economic development. It addresses blight, and it grows property tax valuation within the community, or at least that's always our goal when we're using it. URAs are governed by state statute, so although we'll create plans and things here at the city, at the end of the day, that tool really is dictated at the state level for a lot of what we can and cannot do, which can make it a little bit more cumbersome in terms of understanding why we can do this and why we can't do that. One of the things that's always required is there has to be a defined boundary for how you're going to use urban renewal, where it's going to take effect, along with sort of the purpose and how you're going to use those funds. And that's part of what we call the plan. So within any urban renewal area, we have to have boundaries set, and then we have to say, how are we going to use the money? What is our goal? And that's the required plan. Then there's another arm to that, which is the financial arm, and that's called the report. So we kind of have, where's it going to happen? What are we going to do, and how are we going to use the money, and what's that impact? And all of those are required sort of at that state level, but we develop it here specific to our own community. Urban renewal revenue comes from the annual property tax collection. So, and it's only on the growth of the assessed value within that boundary that we're creating. And so that's called your tax increment. So when a URA is created, the amount of the taxes that are collected at the time continue to still go to all of the taxing districts. And that's what we call the frozen base. So for instance, if we wanted to talk about Riverfront downtown, since we're right here, if at the point when Riverfront was created, say $100 million is what was coming in terms of tax increment, that's still going to all of the taxing districts, and the URA starts out at 0. And so for that reason, we call it the frozen base, and then after that, each year, as the properties are assessed in value, it's the growth rate that becomes the tax increment. So as the assessed valuation grows, that growth can be spent on the project. So oftentimes when we create an urban renewal area, it can take several years before we can actually have funds to do anything, because you're looking at a very small amount and a very small sort of acreage within the city as a whole that we're collecting from. The state permits a city the size of Salem to have 15% of the city's acreage within an urban renewal area and 15% of the property value within an urban renewal area. The city of Salem currently has about 9.4% of our acreage in collecting urban renewal areas and only about 3% of our property tax valuation. So definitely much lower than what the state requirements are currently. So I wanted to give a little high level before I go into the proposed North Waterfront URA, because it sort of speaks to all these different pieces that we've been looking at. So as Dana mentioned, part of what we're here to do is to kind of let you know the things that are happening. And so in spring of 2024, the agency had directed staff to start looking at the creation of a new urban renewal area, specifically within the north waterfront area just north of downtown, with the goal of supporting redevelopment of properties that are left blighted due to a lot of changing uses. We have a lot of properties that were formerly industrial properties that are changing hands, that have environmental constraints, things that would be very difficult for development and very, very costly. And so the initial boundaries that we've started to look at, which you can see on this map, equals about 421 acres. So in comparison to our other urban renewal areas, very similar to the sizes of McGillcrest, South Waterfront, West Salem, so not larger, like North Gateway is our biggest. So this kind of falls in between, a little bit bigger than Riverfront, but not as large as North Gateway. The proposed projects that you're going to see up here really sort of align with the intent of why we were asked to look at it. So there's a lot of development needs especially along the waterfront area where we would like to hopefully see development. So the projects focus on really some of that infrastructure, the creek improvements, the rail crossings that would be needed. But then we also looked at some broader needs for that particular geographic area. So it's everything from environmental cleanup and remediation, looking at grant programs, continuing our grant program. Those have been really successful in our other areas to partner with those private property owners. And also looking at housing. There's areas that could definitely be prime for sort of middle housing and then connecting with our city's housing strategy to make sure that we're kind of, taking all those opportunities where we can. So then we kind of go into the numbers because that's another fun piece of it. So, as I said before, there's sort of the maximum indebtedness. It's the most that we can collect. It's also the most that we can spend. We kind of speak to it in both terms. If you look at state statute, it speaks specifically to what we can spend, but really the way we look at it here is the amount we can collect, because once we collect, we're going to stop collecting. We may not have spent it all yet. Development doesn't always happen at the same time frame as the collections happen. So, there's often times, which is why, for instance, Fairview is one has stopped collecting for some time, but we haven't closed it yet because there's still been funds and development opportunities available to the city. And so that's one of the things that we've started to do and look at for the North Waterfront. Our initial forecast would be that the maximum indebtedness, so the most that we would collect, would be between about 106 and 190 million. Again, these are all initial, so we haven't finalized anything. That would be part of a next step that we would be looking at. And this number kind of comes from looking at existing property values, what the growth rates look like, what the development potential is for the particular area. And then that's taken against existing URAs that are comparable to look at what are those growth factors to make sure that we're not estimating 5% growth when we should be estimating 3% growth. And we actually use a third party for that who specializes in public financing. So they have a lot of experience in working with tax increment financing and municipalities throughout the state. So they bring their expertise to the table as we're kind of looking at these numbers. And so because of that frozen base process where everything gets frozen and the URA really just collects a very small amount, it starts out very slow in what we have available. Our initial projections are anywhere from maybe $290,000 to $300,000 a year for up to the first 5 years. So we're not looking at having a ton of money to do some really big projects for a while because we would need to start to save those funds. And then the other thing I just wanted to make sure is that I mentioned is the maximum indebtedness financial analysis process is also part of that public reporting. So that's part of that final report that you do, not only that shows how we think the funds are going to come in, but also its impact to the taxing districts. So it's a very transparent process in that respect. So speaking of, so the way that this kind of works is we walk through how we come up with sort of the plan, the report, the boundaries, what those would look like for North Waterfront. And then there's actually the state process that would start after that. So if the direction continued to be, yes, we want to keep moving this forward, then there's sort of the state process that we would go through. And that takes several months to get through. Once we're done drafting the plan and the report, we would outreach to our taxing districts. They don't, per state statute, vote on a new urban renewal area, but we do consult with them. We do offer to meet with them. They do provide comment if they like to the elected body. we would then come back to the agency. We would have a draft plan and a draft report for you all to review and to say whether or not you're good with moving it forward or not. If you were comfortable with moving it forward, we actually then go to the Planning Commission. The purpose of the Planning Commission is to make sure that the projects that we are outlining in our report, they align with the comprehensive plan and zoning. So we're not looking to do something completely in a juxtaposition to like what is in the comprehensive plan. So although they're not approving the URA, they are endorsing that, you know, we're meeting the intent of growth for the city of Salem. We actually can't use urban renewal on projects where the zoning doesn't match the project, so there's sort of that piece that kind of helps protect land use as well. After that, we do a super notice. So we have to notice every single physical mailing address in the city of Salem, and it has to be by mail, not email, not billboard, not, you know, all sorts of things we've looked at due to the costs. Everyone would get a postcard in the mail letting them know this is what's happening, notifying them of a public hearing where they can access the documents. And so it's you know, it's a pretty transparent process within that respect. And then obviously as any questions, calls, things like that, we go ahead and take those. We would then go through the city council public hearing process, just like any other sort of process. So we'd have the hearing and things of that nature. If we get through that, we go back to the agency. So public hearing process, there's an ordinance. The agency, we have a resolution. You're accepting that we're moving these forward. We then have to do a 30-day public notice after that, and then we can finally record with the county. So there's a lot of steps that can involve feedback and input and making sure people know what's happening, which is what I just wanted to make sure we kind of made evident. Sometimes urban renewal kind of, we don't hear a lot about it, and I know we don't always need to come forward for a lot of different things, but when we do, there is a very lengthy public process that's associated with it. And one of the things that sometimes we forget to talk about, we talk about urban renewal and all the great things we can do, the capital improvements and the construction and things of that nature, but unfortunately there are some things we can't do with it, and this is not the city not wanting to do it. This is just a state statute thing. Once again, state statute says that urban renewal can only be used for capital, so it can't be used to fund operational things, maintenance, services. When we have people ask about our grant programs, we like to say, you know, we go for the brick and mortar, the things you can't take with you if you were to go to a different space. Because at the end of the day, what we're really focused on is we want to improve the area, but we also want to increase those property values. Because at the end of the day, when the URA closes, we want to make sure that the taxing districts are really getting sort of, you know, the biggest bang for their buck as well, because they're foregoing that growth so that we can make those investments to then hopefully provide them funding to make their own investments. And, you know, a couple of things we always like to try and put out there is that urban renewal, it's not an additional tax. It's just sort of taking that growth, even though people see it on their property tax bills. It's not a new tax. And if you're in an area that doesn't have an urban renewal area, you will still see it on your property tax bills. You're not really paying it, but it's just sort of the way that the property tax system works. And when they closed, people won't see a lower property tax bill because of it. Once again, that growth then goes back to the taxing districts. So Tori's going to go more into sort of a lot of the investments that we've been making over the last couple of years.
Thank you, Dana, Sarah. Good evening. Tori Banford, also with Urban Development. Each urban rural area, as Sarah mentioned, has a plan established by the Urban Renewal Agency that describes the purpose and projects to be achieved. Economic development and development assistance are included in nearly all plans. Grants help with both. Last fiscal year, $1.2 million in riverfront downtown capital improvement grants were matched by nearly $3.5 million in private investment, resulting in 30 new jobs. This slide shows 455 Court Street Northeast, where the historic building was renovated to add 8 dwellings and ground floor spaces for new business tenants. Property owners and tenants may apply for the grant. The building must be in an urban renewal area and meet at least one strategic action plan objective, like mixed-use housing, historic preservation, business expansion, and others. Small projects are up to 100,000 and a 50% match, and large projects range from over 100,000 and 15 to 25% match depending on the size of the project. The maximum grant amount is $300,000, and there is an option to request agency for an exception for large projects to meet additional criteria. And so this group has seen several of those over the years. Grant eligible projects include new building construction, permanent renovations, elevators, utilities, and other capital improvements, like Sarah mentioned, bricks and mortar, things that are permanent that remain in the district. Safety and security and strategic grants are available in Riverfront Downtown and North Gateway urban renewal areas. They were created to address crime and vandalism concerns in these particular areas. Grant eligible activities include security fencing, lighting, gates, doors, trash enclosures, and cameras. Urban renewal is a useful tool to help meet the city's strategic objectives in safe, reliable, and efficient infrastructure. For example, Phase 2 of McGillcrest Street Southeast is underway. Phase 1 that included improvements to the intersection of 22nd Street Southeast were completed last year. The full project will be from 12th Street Southeast to 25th Street Southeast. Urban renewal has been used to improve public infrastructure throughout Salem with the extension of roads, water and sewer lines, construction of water reservoirs and sewer pumping stations, establishment and protection of wetlands, and more. Hundreds of housing units and housing options have been constructed over the last 5 years where urban renewal has been an instrument, contributing to a welcoming and livable community. And the majority of the URAs aid in growing a strong and diverse economy. Adding hundreds of traded sector and service jobs. This has come through land that is, so in the case of the trade sector for Mill Creek Corporate Center specifically, this has come through land that is industrial developed, shovel ready, where the building is sited and constructed in just over 1 year. This is a bragging point, but it takes a lot to make it happen. In the case of a shovel industrial ready site, staff from urban development with finance and public works did everything to plan up front, prepare projects, construct the projects, and then work with prospective businesses to move, look at the site, and then work with all the other city departments to understand the permitting process and go through that. So it's a team effort to get from the land availability that's prepped and ready to develop through the permitting process and constructed. And happy to say that at Mill Creek Corporate Center, at least where this has been done with shovel-ready land, it's taken just over a year to do that. So the public-private infrastructure have been installed and new building construction has occurred. So this is something that contributes to, as Sarah's mentioned, the growth in the district with tax increment, completing projects and approaching the maximum indebtedness. So these next two slides go into, your staff report has more detail on these two slides. Rather than go through each one, I'll focus again specifically on Mill Creek Corporate Center or the Mill Creek Industrial Park or Renewal area. This 829-acre area formerly was Department of Corrections land. So don't know exactly when, but it was gladfully determined that Salem wasn't going to be the only jurisdiction where corrections were going to be located. And so with that left large acres of land southeast Salem to work with. And so the property transferred in 2006 to the Department of Administrative Services. They partnered with the city, and there was an opportunity to create this urban renewal area, and we worked together to do so. So as I mentioned before, a lot of work went into it to get it built out. And so from 2006 to today, roughly 70% of the Mill Creek Corporate Center is constructed. Majority of the land is under contract, so we're negotiating with other businesses to locate there. So this ties into this financial piece because when it was state land, it was not taxable. And so as the work was completed and land was transferred to private ownership and development occurred, we've seen the increase. And so now the result is $5 million annually as a result of the work and the investment into the area. and the area URA is anticipated to meet maximum deadness in 2026. So this slide is a helpful breakdown of what that looks like as far as total annual distribution. So everything from Riverfront Downtown, North Gateway, West Salem, Mill Creek, and South Waterfront, respectfully. So in the case of Mill Creek, it's roughly that $5 million amount per year, and what that translates into the city distribution. So in that case, $645,000 annually, again, from property that wasn't generating tax revenue. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Dana.
Thank you, Sarah and Tori. Now you've had the kind of valuable context of urban renewal areas and how they operate and the impact in the community. Your feedback is crucial to move forward with the strategic plan and certainly the North Waterfront URA conversation as well. We're happy to answer any questions now and also understand how you'd like to provide input on the strategic planning process going forward.
Well, thank you all so much. That was really insightful, very informative. Are there any board members with questions? Yes, Councilor Matthews. I mean, Board Member Matthews.
So, in particularly with the North Waterfront URA, so you mentioned the first little bit of time. I think you mentioned the first 5 years, obviously would not have much coming in. When does that kind of shift and suddenly it starts to produce in a substantial way, kind of projection-wise?
Thank you, Member Matthews. Sarah Long, Urban Development. So about year 5 is when we're thinking we should start to hit around $1 million. But a lot of things can change that. You know, our forecasts are very conservative. So we're not assuming there's going to be a lot of development that's happening during that time because of the fact that we know there's going to need to be some assistance. But we could be wrong. And so if someone comes in and maybe there's some improvements made that we're not expecting, those numbers could grow a little faster, which would allow us the ability to maybe do some of those things a little bit quicker. So we're hopeful around year 5, most conservatively. I think on the less conservative model, it was maybe as soon as year 3 or 4, we started to pick it up a little bit more. So we'd have some funds, really, those first few years would be good because we could start getting, you know, our ducks in a row and figuring out those priorities. And also one of the things we've really been able to use urban renewal for in a lot of different areas is for grant matching. You know, for McGillcrest, we always knew that there would never be enough urban renewal to do the project. It was far too expensive. But one of the ideas behind it was always we could use the urban renewal to get ourselves going, get those design plans going. But then we could use those funds to hopefully be able to use it for match dollars, both for state and for federal grants, which we've been able to do and been very successful at. And so this could be another example of that. We have a lot of industrial sites that are going to have brownfields issues and things of that nature. And there are different grant programs that are out there where, as the city and general fund, we may not have, you know, the funds in order to sort of do that match. But with urban renewal, it gives us a little bit more flexibility to do those sorts of things.
That was a great answer. That was fantastic. I actually have 2 more questions, if that's okay. These ones, they're kind of all over the place, so I don't know who the right person is. But so the next one was just, as I haven't been here when in this position while we were opening a URA or proposing one. And so I guess one thing that I think makes it tough when you open something like this is you don't know what you don't know, in the fact that in 15 years, you know, we're setting these strategic objectives, but our strategic objectives may be different in 15 years. And so kind of knowing that's a possibility, if they are and someone wants to change something in the actual plan, does it require you to go all the way back through that approval process that you had talked about before to amend it?
That's a great question, and it's something I didn't touch on, but our plans are organic. And we, you know, I mean, Riverfront was created in 1979, and Salem in 1979 is much different than Salem today, the things that people would like to see. So what we are allowed to do, that state statute allows us to do and we put in all of our plans, is there are 2 different types of amendment processes. So we have minor amendments, and that's exactly what you're referring to. So as times change, as, you know, priorities shift, we can go in and make a minor amendment. And it's really as simple as just coming back to the agency and bringing forth what that amendment would be. So if we're adding a project to the plan, if we want to remove a project to the plan, if we want to modify things like that, it's very simple to be able to do. On the other side of that, there is also a substantial amendment process. That would typically only be used, and we did use it for North Gateway, if we wanted to increase the maximum indebtedness amount. So if we get towards the end of an urban renewal area and we realize, you know what, there's still a lot of work we want to do in that particular area, we need some additional funds to be able to do that. We can go through a substantial amendment process in order to make that happen. Now that actually does basically go through the exact same process as creating a brand new urban renewal. So substantial and new, there isn't a lot of difference to the process other than we're working off of an existing plan and a report. But to add a project or to modify, it's as simple as coming back to this group.
Excellent.
Board Member Matthews, if you'll hold one moment, I want to make sure nobody else has a question. Anyone else have a question? You want him to go first? Okay, go right ahead, sir.
All right, so last one here. So you mentioned maximum indebtedness, and obviously we just talked about that the McGilchrist URA hit maximum indebtedness in 24-25 fiscal year. So does that mean that, I know that it hasn't closed per se, but we aren't collecting anymore. So does that start feeding back to the general fund for fiscal year 26? Did we receive?
I believe it started, and I will not want to speak out of turn from Josh, who I know is here. I believe it starts coming in this fiscal year, if I'm correct. I'm just going to slide over here, and then I'll come back and finish your question.
Josh Nicholson, Chief Financial Officer. So there is going to be, some was collected last year that's actually going to be returned to districts. And then there's not going to be any collections for 26. So we might get no collections plus a little bump from last year's fund balance that we had to get back to the county.
So, but that, you say no collections, that's no collections for the URA, but our general fund will see collection of our property tax.
That is correct. And that, just for clarity, it's already built into our projections.
Gotcha. Perfect.
And then I would just tap onto that the word close kind of, it's one of those things that's almost more procedural, because really at the end of the day, what everyone is the most concerned about is when do we stop collecting. And so that's the thing that we're really the most focused on. So North Gateway or McGilchrist or Mill Creek, you know, they could stay open for quite a while as we're still using those funds and following the projects that are in the plan, which come every year through as part of our budget process. But they're no longer collecting, which means those funds are going back to the taxing district. So the general fund, I think right now it's about 38% of what we're collecting in urban renewal is actually what will be going back to the general fund.
Board Member Brown.
Thanks, Madam Chair. So my question is very similar to, yeah, please, by all means, stay there.
I mean, we have a team, but, you know, I don't want to take up all their, you know, their glory over here.
So you mentioned here in the report that North Gateway, their closure in the spring of next year, right? And so I think you or maybe Corey may have mentioned that the money can only be used for capital. What are some thoughts about how we're going to use that money?
Yeah, so North Gateway is a little, you know, like I mentioned, North Gateway is a little bit different. So when we do a substantial amendment, which we did to increase the maximum indebtedness, we actually have to go through a pretty rigorous process to identify why we believe we need more money and how we're going to spend that money. So we actually do a whole sort of project breakdown of what projects we think we would do with those funds and what those priorities are. So that's kind of already been established for North Gateway. Of course, once again, things change and they're organic, so it's sort of as long as it's in the spirit of what we're looking at. For North Gateway, we have some really exciting projects, and you know, I think as you all are aware, timing doesn't always correlate, once again, with when the funds come in, especially on some of these really detailed sort of construction projects. So we have the Silverton Road 17th Street project. We're partnering with bond funds, and that's just now starting with the sewer funds. So we've got about $7 million of URA that's going to be able to go into that to really improve that corridor for pedestrians. We're doing infrastructure, the roadways, crossings, so really trying to kind of make it, you know, good for everyone, the businesses, the community. We're also really excited. A few years back, we were able to make some really nice improvements to Portland Road. Unfortunately, we did not have the funds to sort of do another phase of that. But with the bond dollars, once again, this is where we're able to partner. And so because of some of the bond projects that are now focused on Portland Road, we're going to piggyback on with additional urban renewal dollars to really kind of grow the improvements that we've already made. I believe Kristen had mentioned at a previous meeting, the agency purchased 2640 Portland Road site several years back. And so we have that currently in our portfolio. And so we have some funds still set aside depending on sort of what the future and what people would like to see there if we need to make some investments. We also have some industrial properties that it's been a struggle to develop. They're in areas that aren't serviced at the levels that they need to be for development, for water, sewer, needing sidewalks. You know, there could be some creek crossing issues. And so one of the things that's kind of on our list right now is to start looking at, is there something that we can do to sort of get over that hump to make it more developable to anybody? They are privately owned properties, but we continue to hear the same things from different developers when they go through pre-apps. So that's one of the things we're looking at too. Is there a certain type of infrastructure that we can do that would really help make those projects sort of actually, you know, work in terms of the financial sense? And so those are some of the exciting things. We're still trying to continue our grant program for as long as we can. So that's another really big focus. We continue to see a lot of interest in it. I think Port Torrey's probably had 12 or 13 applications in just the last 6 or 7 months come in between Riverfront and North Gateway. And so although our projections, we had thought we might slow down the grant program, with feedback from our advisory board and what we're seeing, we really want to continue that for the private business owners. You know, it's mom and pop businesses, it's developers coming in, it's housing, so we're able to kind of help everybody with that program, which is really great.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Board Member Nishioka, did you have something?
Thank you very much. Yes, I do. Thank you. And then I believe Councilor Nordyke has a question as well. First off, thank you very much for the presentation. I will take away to my neighborhood associations and those that ask, because I think there is confusion with the urban renewal only collects the growth and not all of the tax. There is oftentimes confusion there. So thank you for that. In your report, you mentioned that currently we're only using about 9% of property and that we could go to 15%. So my first question is, are you looking ahead? Are you looking at other areas that might be there even beyond the proposed waterfront that might be something to look forward to?
That's a great question. And I know, Director Rutherford has definitely had a handful of conversations, and we as a team actually meet monthly just to talk sort of really high level, because as we're having these urban renewal areas start to close out, it is sort of that question, and because so many of them have been around for a long time, it's what is next? And I know we've gotten some feedback actually from various, folks up here of places they'd like to see. We've heard from communities, certain different areas, but I think that's also part of what feeds into sort of the strategic plan conversation, is making sure if there's, certain types of focused areas or certain types of growth or development that folks would like to see, we want to make sure that we're looking into that as well. So now I can hand it over to her.
Thank you. Kristen Rutherford, Director of Community Planning and Development. Back in, I think it was 2017, when we went through the citywide strategic planning, we had a subgroup focused on economic development and urban renewal. And at that time, the council members that were part of that group identified areas like Mission Street, Lancaster, and State Street. Those were the areas that kind of rose to the top, and the North Waterfront, of course. That was kind of the top priority. So those 4 areas. And since then, with the housing production plan, we also have interest in looking at other areas that might be suitable for middle housing development. Those have not been geographically identified yet. It's still more conceptual at this point.
I have 2 more questions, but I believe Councilor, she's going. Thank you very much. While you're here, I also want to ask, because you mentioned that you had a team that was looking at economic development. Something that I would really like to see some focus in on are urban renewal funds able to support salary or basically staff. So I'm already here seeing a shake the head. That's not something that it can fund.
It can, so for those staff working on urban renewal projects, it can cover administrative overhead for working on those projects.
Okay, so it does. All right, great. Basically, if you add a new URA, you might be able to add new staff. Correct. So that then you could have additional people working on economic development. Great. Then I want to also just ask a quick question with the proposed waterfront. Does this boundary go right up to Keizer? Or is it so I'm here?
Yes.
Okay, great. My last question. Is there any possibility for urban renewal funds to help support public art within that urban renewal? So infrastructure of public art.
So the answer to that question starts to get kind of wonky because there have been changes in state statute over the last several years. And it depends on the date of the plan and what was included in that plan. Okay, so for example, the downtown urban renewal area that was created in the 70s. In the 70s, it was just fine to spend money on art in urban renewal areas. That was included in our plan. State statute has since changed, and now there are restrictions around that. Same thing with public facilities, public buildings. Okay, it used to be no problem to spend money on a city hall or a fire station or something that was identified in a plan. That has also changed. So for newer plans and areas, there's just a lot more process that you'd have to go through and to get the approval of the other taxing districts to add those sorts of things into an urban renewal plan.
So what I heard is Riverfront has funds for art, but not many of the others.
We do still in some of our other urban renewal areas, but as you are contemplating new plans, and I don't think we've created a new plan since maybe our single property URA, Jory, but since that statute has changed, we haven't done a traditional urban renewal area where that would be contemplated.
Thank you, that's it.
Board Member Nordijk.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate having colleagues have the opportunity to ask all their questions at once. Madam Mayor, I think I recommend that just because I know if they're like me, they're going down a certain path and they have a few wind-up questions. So thank you, Madam Mayor, we appreciate you. So I do have a few questions about URAs. First of all, the Safety Security Grant Program, what a fantastic idea that is. I'm just wondering, Director Rutherford, or whether you'd rather have a staff member of yours answer this. What steps has the URA staff taken to ensure that eligible businesses are aware of this program? And the reason I ask is that we hear a lot from business owners who are really concerned about safety and security, and if I run into them, those are opportunities for me to let them know, hey, on the fly, did you know this is a thing? But I would love to hear what staff is doing to make sure that our eligible businesses are aware of this program.
So I know that each of the program managers for the different urban renewal areas work with businesses within those boundaries. Downtown, we've got a staff person who is devoted to working with the smaller businesses, and he does a lot of just walking around and checking in with businesses. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that information gets shared kind of in that personal interaction sort of basis. It's not something that we have done, it's like we're not taking out advertisements for it, right? So a lot of it is word of mouth, a lot of it is through mailers, a lot of it's through just one-on-one conversations.
Okay, thank you, because I do think, if you're opening a small business, you've got 1,000,001 boxes to check, you've got licensing, inspections, all kinds of things going on. And in all that hubbub, you may not be aware of this program. So I would just encourage you folks to continue, do those walk-arounds, do those relationship building that happens from getting to know businesses one-on-one. I think that would be fantastic. My next question, was really delighted to see recognition of all the work that URAs have done to create more housing in the area.
And I didn't see it in our slides tonight, but I would love to know just how many more housing units have been created with URA funds. And I understand that may not be a number you have at your fingertips, but I think it's worth sharing with the community because that's a success story. I think URAs have done a really terrific job at promoting affordable housing specifically. Is there anything you'd like to speak to that?
Yeah, and that's something we can certainly bring back. You know, and again, that's something that it depends on the plan and the urban renewal area. So out in Mill Creek, it has an industrial focus, so we have not used our URA funding for housing there. Downtown, we've done a lot. We've done some out in the North Gateway urban renewal area, so it just kind of depends on what the urban renewal area is and what its focus is, but we can bring that back.
Thank you, Director. I'd appreciate that. You know, I think that there are opportunities for us as the URA agency to decide what we want these plans looking like moving forward. And as Councilor Nishioka pointed out, there are lots of potential things that I would love to see our URA funds used on, and industrial, promoting big industry. There's lots of opportunities that, but as you say, there's also opportunities for housing. So you want to right size it to the geographic property. It's not going to make sense for every geographic area. So will there be opportunities for us to discuss in this public meeting space what those plan criteria might be moving forward?
Absolutely. So, you know, the purpose of this was to address moving forward with a strategic plan, and if we want to go that path or if we want to go forward with more of a policy guidance document. In either situation, what we'd love to do is have feedback after this meeting, have councilors, commission members reach out to us and let us know kind of what your thoughts are in terms of either a strategic plan or a policy document. Then based on that, we can then come back to the board with a framework, something to start with to get your input on.
Okay, thank you, Director. And then my last point is really just a comment. I see the value in URAs, and yet at the same time, I'm pleased to see that we have some closures coming up, because that's money that, yes, we don't get all of it. And I really appreciate the fact that your report and your slides that you and your staff prepared clearly distinguishes the total property tax money that will return and the city of Salem's cut of it. So there's more money that'll be coming back to the school district and the county and so on, right? Which is great. But I know we need that money. I love to see how we are back in the black, and I want to continue that way for as long as possible. So I know that there's a balance between investing in our URAs and doing everything we can to stabilize our general fund. So I just wanted to make that comment known. Thank you.
Any other questions? Well, thank you all very much.
All right.
Very well prepared.
Thank you to my staff for pulling this all together. Thanks.
Okay, moving on then to information reports. We have item 6A, purchases approved administratively from July 1, 2025 through July 31st, 2025. Item 6.B, purchases approved administratively from August 1, 2025 through August 31st, 2025. Item 6C, the quarterly information report on economic development. If there's nothing further, we are adjourned. Okay, I'd like to call to order this meeting of Salem City Council for Monday, September 22nd, 2025. Will the recorder please call the roll?
Councillor Teigen is absent. Councillor Nishioka?
I'm here.
Councillor Matthews?
Here.
Councillor Gwynn?
Here.
Councillor Brown?
Present.
Councillor Vang?
Still here.
Councillor Nordyke?
Here.
Counselor Varney.
Hopefully you can hear me. I'm here.
Mayor Julie Hoy.
Here. All right, Counselor Nishioka, do we have any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Yes, I move for approval of the additions and revisions to the agenda.
Second.
Motion and a second by Gwynn. Counselor, to your motion.
Yes, thank you. We have an addition of a letter from Mayor Julie Hoy was added under council comment. And 1.4B, some revisions were made, the through and the from sections of the report. And 1.4C was a Cherriots presentation, but that has now been moved to 5C. And that completes the additions and deletion or revisions.
Are there any questions? Will the recorder please call the roll?
Counselor Vane.
Aye.
Counselor Nordyke. Counselor Varney.
Aye.
Counselor Tigan is absent. Counselor Nishioka.
Aye.
Counselor Matthews.
Aye.
Counselor Gwynn.
Aye.
Counselor Brown.
Aye.
Mayor Julie Hoy.
Aye. Okay, moving on to council and city manager comments. Does anyone have anything they'd like to share for this meeting? Counselor Gwynn.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In the face of tragic events like the recent assassination of Charlie Kirk, a prominent and polarizing figure whose ideas stirred both admiration and opposition, communities across the political spectrum have been shaken. Salem is no exception. Many here strongly disagreed with Mr. Kirk's views, while others respected and revered them. But in this moment, what must unite us is our shared condemnation of political violence in any form. Violence has no place in a democratic society. The killing of Mr. Kirk is not just a tragedy, it is an assault on the principles of civil discourse and lawful expression. No matter the ideology or identity of the victim, such acts threaten the rule of law and the foundation of our democracy. As elected leaders and as neighbors, we must stand together in rejecting violence unevocably and universally. In this time of grief and division, I want to highlight the work of Braver Angels, a national nonprofit dedicated to political depolarization. Their mission is clear and urgent, bringing Americans together to bridge the partisan divide and strengthen our democratic republic. Braver Angels does not seek to change people's views on issues, but rather to change how we view one another. As fellow citizens worthy of dignity and respect, through workshops, debates, community engagement, they foster civic friendship and encourage honest, respectful dialogue across political lines. Here in Salem, Tim Buckley, a teacher of nonviolent communication and co-founder of our local Braver Angels chapter, has been instrumental in bringing this mission to life. As co-chair, Tim has helped create spaces where liberals and conservatives can engage in meaningful, empathetic conversation. His leadership reflects the kind of courage and humility that Braver Angels calls the Braver Way, a commitment to listening deeply, speaking honestly, and seeking common ground. I urge all of us, regardless of our political positions, to reaffirm our commitment to civility, respectful dialogue, and the peaceful resolution of conflicts. Salem can and must be a model of unity and resilience. We must show that it is possible to disagree passionately without resorting to hatred or harm. Each of us has a role to play. One voice raised against violence can inspire many more. By choosing dialogue over division and courage over fear, we strengthen the bonds of our community and uphold the democratic values we all cherish. Let us move forward together with compassion, conviction, and shared commitment to peace. Thank you.
Councilor Nordyke.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And first of all, thank you, Councilor Gwynn. That was so eloquent and so well spoken. So thank you so much. That was beautifully, beautifully said. I would like to take this opportunity to briefly educate some folks about a little-known process in city government involving our legislative policies and priorities. You see, under our own rules, before any member of council can attempt to influence legislation on behalf of the city, they must have approval from the council. This is intended to prevent individual members from speaking on the city's behalf without majority support. Council support is obtained methodically, carefully, and most importantly, publicly. And it all starts with a review of the legislative process in the legislative committee meetings. Legislative committee is comprised of a small handful of city councilors and members of council more generally, including myself. And it's our job to consider and recommend all the legislative priorities that come forward in any given legislative session. We do this with the support of our lobbyists and our city staff because there are thousands of bills that come out every single year, and we need their help, assistance, and expertise to help guide us through this process. But again, the legislative committee meetings, too, are public. Public meetings open and free to all. The recommendations that legislative committee then makes are then forwarded to the entire council for a formal adoption, ensuring that all of us city councilors are on the same playing field, have the same information, and have the ability to weigh in on decisions that could impact us financially and otherwise. Hundreds of millions of dollars passing through the legislature, and how it is spent and where it is spent has a lot to do with how effective cities are at lobbying, how effective we are at presenting with one united voice. Also, by requiring that all members of council adhere to this policy, this ensures that we have a consistent and predictable message to our state and federal lawmakers. We must avoid confusion and prevent the city's position from appearing fragmented or disorganized. And of course, I'm always committed to ensuring a transparent and a public process to deciding when and how we intervene and weigh in on legislative priorities. Earlier this year, in February 2025, Legislative Committee prepared a list of proposed legislative priorities, as we do. And we don't have the authority to speak for the entire council, so we have to package those up and send them to a council meeting where any member of council who's not on legislative committee can then vote, object, weigh in, deliberate, etc. And the whole purpose of that is, again, to ensure a consistent process and that we speak with united voice with our most important audience, our state and federal lawmakers, because they have access to money that we never will. And that includes a wide variety of sources of funds that we use to keep our city open for business every day. At March 10, the City Council voted unanimously to approve those legislative policy statements and priorities to guide our federal and state agenda. That agenda item stated, quote, "Before any official representing the City of Salem can attempt to influence legislation on a particular matter during the interim or during a legislative session, the City Council must adopt an official position related to that matter." There is also a council policy buried deep in our documents called policy number G-1 that speaks to this as well. Now, while individuals are free to speak in their own name, as we all have a First Amendment right to do so, it is so important that when it comes to the critical funding challenges that are facing this city, that we speak with one voice. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, well, I would just like to acknowledge the letter sent by me over the weekend to the members of the Joint Interim Committee on Transportation Funding. As part of the legislative committee process, I was asked to sign the city's letter in support, and I did. The letter sent over this past weekend is my personal position on House Bills 3991 and 3992. My letter does not represent the opinions of the City of Salem or Salem City Council. Now, moving on. Yes. Oh, Councillor Varney, did you have something to add?
I did, thank you. If you all can hear me okay.
We can.
What I wanted to say was following up on what you were just mentioning, Mayor Hoy, as well as Councilor Nordijk. I didn't see the letter that you had written until this afternoon, and I wanted to provide a couple comments about it. I don't feel that the letter is appropriate to be brought up here in this particular form or body, and especially with a signature saying that it's signed by the mayor, because it provides a perception that the individual is speaking for the entire city. Yeah, I'm a little disturbed about the purpose of bringing it up forward, like I said, under this forum. I mean, why sign it as mayor of the city of Salem if it's your own personal opinion? And then lastly, I feel it's an inappropriate use of city funds when I think about ethics, to be using letterhead and mayor's office staff to be creating a personal item. So I just wanted to express the fact that I don't agree with it this evening. Thank you.
Just to clarify, city staff was not used for this purpose. This was my own volition, and I did sign the letter as, in closing, please regard this letter as my personal position as mayor of Salem, not the city of Salem or Salem City Council.
Then I don't feel it was important that you used your title. You could have just said Julie Hoy and sent it outside of the council forum.
And the purpose of bringing it to council was to make you all aware. So, Councillor Matthews.
Well, I mean, I'll give you my opinion on it since that's apparently what we're doing. Ultimately, we're elected by the people. We're not elected to do what this body feels is best. We're elected to do what we feel is best for our constituents. I mean, we've had instances in this same council that we've disagreed. I wasn't on it yet, but the payroll tax was one of those. This body agreed to one thing, and there were members of this council that didn't agree to that. And they were very vocal about it. And so I don't think it's inappropriate to speak what we think is best for our constituents, because that's what you're elected to do. And it doesn't change because I walk off this table that I'm no longer a city councilor. I'm still a city councilor elected by my ward, and it's my job to speak in my ward and in the city, here and outside of here, what I think is best for that ward. And so no matter how we feel about, or no matter what the letter says, I think it's each one of our rights to be able to say what we think is best for our constituents.
Any other comment? Okay. I would just like to add that it's been a very full couple of weeks. There's been some really wonderful community activities, not the least of which are the 8 Cowagoi exchange students who showed up today, or this weekend, to visit Salem. They came to the office this morning, and we had a wonderful visit. They're excited to be here. I was also at a reception this afternoon at North Salem High School. That's where the relationship began in I think it was 1987, and where the relationship continues. So it's a beautiful thing. They were excited to be in Salem, and they all agree it's a beautiful place to live. Let's see here. Oh, the other piece I wanted to add was the rock recovery event down at the riverfront was absolutely fabulous. So many vendors. I was able to read a proclamation there, and was actually the first volunteer to sit in the dunk tank. And one of Salem's finest police officers threw the first ball, and he missed. And the second person fired about 12 balls off, and he missed. And then a young man by the name of Manuel, I believe, got up, and he was successful. And he's currently participating in the drug court program, which is working very well for him, and the positive interactions that we have with our folks going through those incredible opportunities for potential, it's a good thing. So that's that. Moving on then to proclamations.
Okay. Ashley? Okay. Checkity check. Can you hear me? Not yet.
Does this one work? Okay. Well, let's shut it off. Okay. We have 3 proclamations this evening. The first is for National Hispanic Heritage Month. Robert Garcia, are you still here? Thank you for your patience. The West Salem Lightning Rod for Salem Leadership Foundation, and Yuriana Coronado, please come forward. Communications Outreach Coordinator for Salem-Keizer Public Schools, and Gemma Barragan, is that close? Barragan? Okay. Gemma, lo siento. Okay, she's a first-generation Latina singer from Salem and North Salem High School alumna. Thank you for being here. I'll go ahead and read the proclamation, and if you guys want to share something, I think Gemma is going to share something tonight. Great. All right. Whereas National Hispanic Heritage Month is an opportunity to celebrate the long-standing cultural traditions as well as honor the significant achievements of our Hispanic and Latino communities nationwide, and whereas first established by President Lyndon B. Johnson in 1968 as Hispanic Heritage Week, Congress passed Public Law 100-402 in 1988, authorizing the designation of National Hispanic Heritage Month to recognize the great contributions of Hispanic and Latino Americans. And whereas President George H.W. Bush issued the first proclamation honoring National Hispanic Heritage Month, Proclamation 6021, where he stated that Hispanic Americans have continued to make their mark across the country and in virtually every aspect of American life. And whereas Hispanics and Latinos represent a vibrant and thriving part of Salem's diverse community and make valuable contributions in business, industry, government, education, and the arts. And whereas our city is greatly enriched by its Hispanic presence, and we look forward to continuing our strong relationship with our friends who contribute so much to Salem and surrounding communities. And now, therefore, I, Julie Hoy, Mayor of the City of Salem, do hereby proclaim September 15 to October 15, 2025 as National Hispanic Heritage Month, and encourage everyone to celebrate the heritage and achievements of Hispanics and Latinos and recognize their contributions to our country and our community.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Mayor and Salem City Council, for this important proclamation. As a first-generation Latina student and mariachi singer, I carry our traditions through music, and I'm proud to celebrate Heritage Month with our Salem community, especially at a time where so many hardworking immigrants and community are facing many challenges. This recognition means we are seen, and that means a lot. This is for them. Y que viva nuestra cultura y que viva el mes de la herencia hispana. Muchísimas gracias. ¡Que viva! ¡Que viva!
Thank you, Anna. Congratulations. Thank you so much. And she has a beautiful voice, by the way. Yeah, you should have sung for us. That would have been good. You can sing? You want to sing a little something? Come on down.
Okay, I'll be singing a cappella, but this is Paloma Negra, and my mom and I analyzed this piece a while back, how it is basically on the surface, it's of heartbreak, but we analyzed it in a way of thinking of our brothers and sisters that didn't make it while crossing the border. So I hope you guys enjoy. This is Paloma Negra. Ya me canso de llorar y no amanecer. Ya no sé si maldecirte o por ti rezar. Tengo miedo de buscarte y de encontrarte. Donde me aseguran mis amigos que te vas. Hay momentos en que quisiera mejor rajarme y arrancarme y a los clavos de mi penar. Pero mis ojos se mueren sin mirar tus ojos y mi cariño con la aurora te vuelve a esperar. Ya agarraste por tu cuenta las barrandas. Paloma negra, ¿dónde andarás? Ya no juegas con mi honra parrandera. Si tus caricias deben ser mías, de nadie más. Y aunque te amo con locura, ya no vuelvas. Paloma negra, eres la reja de un penar. Quiero ser libre, vivir mi vida con quien yo quiera. Dios, dame fuerzas, que estoy muriendo por irlo a buscar. Ya agarraste por tu cuenta las barrandas. Muchísimas gracias.
Wow, Gema. As my little friends in Oaxaca say, I've got chicken skin. Goosebumps. Thank you so much. Yeah. Wow, that's the best thing to happen to Salem City Council in a very long time. Thank you so much. Okay. Wow. Moving on to our third proclamation. Whereas, oh, wait, hold up. We have special guests with us this evening. Please come down. We have Maribel Ramiosa, President, Mary Lou Salazar, Vice President, and Joey Dubrovsky, current Sergeant at Arms, and I think there might be a little change. He's the incoming president for the Greater Salem Filipino-American Association. Come on forward. Okay. I'll read the proclamation, okay? And then you can say a few words. Great. You don't have to sing if you don't want to. Okay. Whereas October 2025 is the 438th anniversary of the earliest documented proof of Filipino presence on the shores of the west coast of the continental United States, and whereas the residents of Oregon should be informed of the positive impact Filipino-Americans have had on our communities, and whereas in Oregon, thousands of Filipino-Americans have made contributions to the fields of teaching, business, government service, agriculture, ministry, medicine, and other sciences, humanities, and the United States Armed Forces. And whereas it is imperative for Filipino-American youth to have positive role models and instill in them the importance of education, complemented with the richness of their ethnicity and values of their legacy. And whereas efforts must continue to promote the study of Filipino-American history and culture, because the role of the Filipino-Americans and those of other people have been overlooked in the writing, teaching, and learning of United States history. And whereas this anniversary is a significant time to study the advancement of Filipino-Americans, a time of celebration, remembrance, reflection, and motivation, and a relevant time for all of our citizens to learn and appreciate more about the Filipino-Americans and their historic contributions to our nation and to Oregon. Now, therefore, I, Julie Hoy, Mayor of the City of Salem, do hereby proclaim October 2025 as Filipino-American History Month and invite the community to join me in recognition of the positive impact Filipino-Americans have had on our community, dated this 22nd day of September 2025.
Very good. Yeah, thank you. Yes. On behalf of Greater Salem Filipino-American Association, we would like to thank our beloved Mayor Julie Hoy and the Council for signing this proclamation for the Filipino-American History Month for the month of October. Thank you very much.
Okay, Councillor Vang?
Thank you, Mayor. Can I please have Paige Clarkson, the Marion County District Attorney, and Ashley Carson, Executive Director of the Center for Hope and Safety, step forward? Oh, here they are. Thank you, ladies, for joining me on stage. Whereas the impact of domestic violence extends beyond individuals, reaching families and communities, and whereas in the last year, Marion County experienced at least 3 domestic violence homicide crimes, and whereas the Marion County District Attorney's Office received more than 1,000 law enforcement reports of domestic violence last year and filed over 800 domestic violence cases. And whereas the Marion County Court received 1,170 requests for protective orders last year, and whereas the Center for Hope and Safety received 38,000 contacts into its program and provided 12,300 nights of shelter. And whereas the Marion County Victim Assistance Division provided service to more than 865 victims of domestic violence, walking alongside them and giving them a voice in the criminal justice process. And whereas we know as individuals we can make a difference by speaking up and reaching out to help victims and survivors. And now, therefore, I, Mai Vang, on behalf of Julie Hoy, Mayor of the City of Salem, do hereby proclaim October 2025 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and honor those who have died and acknowledge those who have survived by supporting meaningful services that create safe and hope for people needing help in our community. Dated this 22nd day of September 2025. Thank you.
Oh, do you want to take it now, later? Okay.
We'll do this together. I'll move that. Mayor Hoy, councilors, distinguished guests, my name is Paige Clarkson. I have the privilege of serving as the Marion County District Attorney. Here with me today, as Councilor noted, is Ashley Carson. She's the Executive Director of the Center for Hope and Safety, and we are fortunate to be here. Want to thank the council and the mayor for inviting us here today and really recognizing October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. We're grateful that they have done that. We're also very fortunate to work together. That's a unique process throughout the state where you see law enforcement and community organizations and nonprofits working together for healthier, betterment, safer lives for survivors of domestic violence and sexual violence. The numbers that Councilor just read are very shocking. They're striking. They frankly should be disturbing. 3 domestic homicides is too many in our community. 1,000 domestic violence reports, 800 plus domestic violence crimes actually filed in our county by my office. 38,000 contacts at Center for Hope and Safety. If that number doesn't strike you and doesn't hit you hard, it should. It tells you how many people are out in our community needing help, needing to be safer, needing to lead healthier lives. Let me tell you 3 things that I know about that really fast. The first is for every single one of those reports that come to my office, there are dozens, maybe hundreds, of unreported acts of domestic and sexual violence in our community. And that is because people don't feel safe to make those reports, to seek the help that they need. So for every single one of those, we know there are more. There are more people for us to help. There are more people in our community that need safety in order to thrive and to overcome the circumstances that they are in. I can also tell you that in order for us together to help every single one of those people, we need the resources to be able to do it. Those resources are currently threatened. Both of our organizations committed to helping victims of violence, we are losing grant funding to do that work. And it is absolutely crucial and essential for us to be able to reach those who need help. And those grants have been anemic for years, and now we are frankly just losing money. And so I'll tell you the third thing that is most important about me being here, which is proclamations like this are more than just words. And I know we read them on a piece of paper, but they are more than words. They are a commitment from this council, from our mayor, and from our community that we will continue to help victims of sexual violence and domestic violence, family violence. They are a commitment that we will continue to listen, we will continue to see them, we will continue to be here, regardless of the resources that we have. We are committed to work together to do that, both on a law enforcement front and in our communities. And I'm here to tell you, Mayor and Council, that because you're committed, we're committed. We will continue to do this work. And I ask all of you within listening distance here to prioritize reaching out to those that may need help, prioritize resources and funding for these programs. Our community needs them. If we ever expect to stop violence in homes, in families, intimate partner situations, we have to work as a community to do that. We have to prioritize the safety of our neighbors, of our families, and the only way to do that is for us to work together and recognize it. Because you're committed, we will continue to be committed. Ashley.
Thank you so much, Paige. I would just like to echo everything that our district attorney has said, and I want to leave you with the words of a survivor. So this is someone we recently were able to help at the Center for Hope and Safety. In her words, "I left my old life with only what I was wearing. I was blessed with ID, work clothes, laptop to finish my classes, art supplies for coping skills, support with unexpected bills, and so much more. Leaving shelter, I will start my life prepared and given a peace of mind. Now I get to focus on furthering my education, stability in my jobs, fully focused on living life, not surviving it. Before I got here, my life that I have now felt like an impossible dream. But this multifaceted support will help me continue nurturing myself, building a safe future I never thought I'd be able to experience. Now, the future for me looks so bright, abundant, and safe. I get to finally meet parts of me that were scattered by survival, trauma, and fear. So thank you, Mayor Hoy and the City Council for highlighting this important issue. And one quick plug, if you'd like to get involved really soon, we do have our Steps to Safety walk run. It's a fun run, 5K, Saturday, October 11th. Register online now, bring your friends, bring your family. The funds go to directly support survivors like the story I just shared, and also to support the work of the Marion County Domestic Violence Council. So thank you so much for the time tonight and raising awareness.
Here, should I hold this? Should I make it look official?
Yeah.
In some fashion?
Yeah.
I don't know.
There we go.
Okay.
There we go.
Thank you.
Of course, thank you for being here.
All right, thank you, everyone. We are moving on to presentations. We have a presentation by the Human Rights Commission presenting the Belonging Survey results. Perfect.
All right, perfect, here we go. Good evening, Madam Mayor, City Councilors, City Manager, and City staff. My name is Robert Marshall. I'm the Vice Chair to the Human Rights Commission, and I'm here today to present the results of the 2025 Community Belonging Survey. The Community Belonging Survey is conducted annually in partnership with the Western Oregon University. Hold on, I'm trying to minimize this so I can see portions of this, apologize. Western Oregon University Masters of Arts and Organizational Leadership students. We've had this partnership with Professor Marianne Bradshaw, who is here in the audience, and her students for the last 7 years. Their team, that class, works with the council, with the commission to develop the questions for the survey, helps us field the survey, and get insights into the Salem residents' sense of belonging, as well as experiences of discrimination in the city of Salem. This year, the survey was available from April 24th to May 15th in English, Spanish, Chuukese, and Marshallese. And the purpose was to understand belonging in Salem, identify barriers, and spark discussions about building a more welcoming city. 552 people completed their survey this year, including 80 people that identified as Pacific Islander and 63 who identified as being unhoused in the city of Salem. We had 4 primary objectives. The survey consists of 26 questions. The commission honed in on 4 questions to identify the types, frequency, and the types and frequency of the people in Salem experiencing and witnessing discrimination, as well as the comfort reporting bias crimes to the Salem Police Department, the awareness of and willingness to report to the HRC, as well as our overall sense of belonging in the city of Salem. We asked participants how much they agree with the statement, overall I feel a sense of community in Salem. To this question, 55% of all respondents said that they felt a sense of belonging in Salem. For unhoused residents, 44% said they did not feel a sense of belonging in the city of Salem, and Pacific Islanders, 17.6% identified not feeling a sense of belonging. The numbers in this survey show that the sense of community and the sense of belonging is not equally shared amongst all residents in the city of Salem. We asked about experiences of discrimination in Salem. 33.3% of all respondents said that they experienced discrimination in the city of Salem in the past year. However, that number skyrockets to 82.5% of people experiencing homelessness, with 67.6% saying they experience discrimination on a weekly or daily basis. Nearly 7 in 10 of our unhoused residents face discrimination on a weekly or daily basis. 7 in 10. We honed in on the most common types of discrimination. 37.4% of all respondents identified race, color, national origin, and 37.4% also identified age as the top 2 types of discrimination in Salem, and 34.8% identified or stated that they felt discriminated against based on their gender. We looked at the locations of discrimination. The aggregate is the sum of all individuals that took the survey. 59.3%, over half of the respondents, identified public outdoor spaces as a location of discrimination. 48% identified businesses, and 33.7% identified healthcare settings. We honed in on people experiencing homelessness to identify the locations in which they are experiencing discrimination the most. 82.7% identified public outdoor spaces, 53.8% said businesses, and 46.2% listed public transportation. It's important to note that all of these places listed are places of public accommodation. These are places in the city of Salem and in our state's capital city that individuals should feel the most safest, seen, valued, heard. They should be seeing the compassion and the dignity presented to them that's presented to all of us. It's even more striking to notice that healthcare settings, a third of individuals identified feeling discriminated against in a healthcare setting, a place where they're seeking professionals to get cared for and receive the treatment they deserve. Over 1/3 of all respondents identified feeling discriminated against in those settings. At the request of the Salem Police Department, we asked individuals if they were the target of a biased crime, how comfortable they would be in reporting it to the Salem Police Department. 54.6% said they would be likely to report it. 34.8% of those that took the survey said they would not report. And 68.2% of people experiencing homelessness said they're unlikely to report discrimination to the Salem Police Department. The individuals who are the most likely to be discriminated against are also the least likely to report those to people of authority. We asked a similar question about their comfort reporting bias to the Human Rights Commission. 42.4% of all respondents said they were unlikely to report to the Human Rights Commission, and 54% said they were unlikely to report. 54% of people experiencing homelessness said they were unlikely to report discrimination to the Salem HRC. We recognize and we accept this challenge that many people don't know what the HRC is or what the HRC does. I also want to highlight the importance of the partnership that we have with the Salem Police Department, because more people are likely, of all respondent groups, are likely to report to the Salem Police Department. And I just want to give a shout out to Chief Womack, as well as Deputy Chief Deb Aguilar and Sergeant Robert Dowd. Those two individuals have been huge supporters for the Human Rights Commission. They attend the meetings regularly, and they present the cases that they're hearing and providing that information to the Human Rights Commission, as well as seeking feedback on ways that law enforcement and the Human Rights Commission can work together to address these concerns of discrimination, as well as bias in the city of Salem. So I do want to just give a quick shout out to the Salem Police Department for their support and working collaboratively with the HRC in addressing these issues. That is the end of the very short presentation that I provided for you guys. I do want to just give a quick shout out to the Master of Arts in Organizational Leadership students at Western Oregon University. Without their help, we wouldn't be able to field this survey. We wouldn't be able to collect this information. I also want to thank Professor Marianne Bradshaw, who's in the audience with us. She works tirelessly all year round with the HRC. The class is only offered in the spring term, but she works year-round with the HRC to continue analyzing these results, as well as improving the survey for future years. I also want to give a shout-out to Director Bennett, the Community Services Director. Gretchen has been a great staff liaison to the Human Rights Commission. Super supportive. She works around the clock in supporting our work. And then I also want to give a quick shout-out to my fellow commissioners for working tirelessly to get this survey off the ground each year, get it out in the field, and then taking the results from this to identify actions that we can utilize at both the commission level as well as a citywide level in improving the sense of belonging and community that residents feel in the city of Salem. So I know that was a lot of information. I threw at you guys really quickly. I do want to open it up for any questions.
Thank you. Great job. Is anyone? Yeah, Councilor Nordyke.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, very much. Mr. Marshall, so nice to see you again.
Thank you.
I am so appreciative and, of course, also concerned by the results that you provided here. I have brought up the fact that there are a number of persons who are homeless who do not feel comfortable asking our police for help. Unfortunately, this survey confirms a lot of the anecdotes that I've personally observed, but I so also appreciate what you're saying about our police chief and our deputy chief and their dedication to the HRC meetings. That is really commendable work, so I wanted to congratulate them on that. The last time, Mr. Marshall, you and I met in person, I toured one of the overnight shelters that was run by your organization. And I really appreciate all the work that we do to provide sheltering support for people in our community. I'm just wondering, given the amount of professional experience you have working with the unsheltered in our community, was there anything about the data you just presented that surprised you? Was there anything about that that really resonated with you based on your own work at Community Action Agency?
I wouldn't say anything that really surprised me. What I think it confirms a lot of what people that work in housing and homeless services believe, and that is the level of discrimination they experience and the frequency in which they experience it. I do also want to call out that people in the survey and the open-ended questions and everything, oftentimes commented that, of all respondents said that they didn't feel safe. Those that did answer that they did not feel safe in the city of Salem attributed that to the homeless population, and they said that they didn't feel safe walking downtown. I do just want to urge everybody that individuals experiencing homelessness are people. They are deserving of dignity. They're deserving of the same rights as everybody else, and that if we work together on housing solutions, we would have less people on the streets, meaning that those people would feel less concerned about this nature of downtown, as well as anywhere in Salem. I know there's also been a lot of talks about adding law enforcement to this conversation about safety in downtown. And I do want to just say that we can't police our way out of homelessness, but we can house our way out of homelessness.
Yeah, Councilor Nishioka.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. What a lot of work. Pretty full report. And again, thank you for doing that for the university students and the professor. I'm just a little curious as to how the survey was administered. It looks like it was mostly done in person, but it seems like there might have been other opportunities. And what was the process in deciding who or what areas to survey?
Yes, so the survey was available online, and the survey was available online throughout the time period, and it was listed there late March, early August. Additionally, we offered events in person. We did 4 events, one of them being specifically at the Micro-Indonesian, I am butchering the name, but MIC Oregon, for short and everything, did an in-person event to capture that the Pacific Islander audience. In-person events were also held at Community Action Agency, the Arches Project, as well as Church at the Park, to make the survey accessible to individuals experiencing homelessness. Community advocates also helped with those endeavors. And we can't thank those community advocates enough, some of them in the audience today. If it weren't for them helping to educate unsheltered individuals about this survey, they wouldn't have access to it. A lot of them don't have access to internet or phones. To speak a little bit more about how that information was advertised, the City of Salem posted the link as well as information about the survey being available on their social media pages through their websites. The Human Rights Commission has a mail serve that information was pushed out through, as well as various community groups educating their specific audiences. We hosted a listening session with several organizations, nonprofit NGOs in the City of Salem, talking to them about the survey and how they could advertise, as well as how they could help the individuals they're working with to complete the survey.
Thank you.
Yes, Councillor Vang.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate you coming to council and giving this presentation. This kind of survey is important, especially because I want to make data-informed decisions when we're talking about solutions to some of the tough conversations we've had over the summer, and a couple that you've mentioned. And I think what was really, what stood out to me in your presentation was that the survey found that 68.2% of respondents reported that they would be somewhat or very unlikely to report a bias to the police. And that, as a council member, is very alarming, because it's an indicator that the data we have on our unsheltered residents is underreported, vastly underreported. And I'm glad to hear that the police department has identified that as a place for improvement and is working with the Human Rights Commission. So I'm glad we're making positive steps. I just want to make that comment, but I did have a question in terms of going back to what Councillor Nishioka was mentioning, was did the survey include our community members who are disabled or who may experience discrimination based on their disability? Was that included in their survey, or being addressed somewhat soon?
Yes, so there were questions on the survey regarding discrimination based on disabilities. Unfortunately, I don't have those numbers in front of me off the top of my head, and I'm not sure if Professor Bradshaw, I'm going to invite her up. It was her students that helped with that. There is a larger report to it. I do just want to add, though, in terms of things that are being addressed with individuals living in Salem that identify as having a disability, is recently the Human Rights Commission stood up a disability rights task force to identify potential actions or recommendations that we could bring to City Council to make the City of Salem more inclusive, accessible, and livable for people with disabilities. And we look forward to coming back later in the winter, potentially early spring, with some of the stuff that we've learned through that. But I will pass it over to Professor Bradshaw, who has those disability answers.
Sure, I have the data set right here. Of the respondents, 2/3 indicated they do not have a disability, but 7% said they have a mental disability, 11% a physical disability, and 9% both a mental and physical disability. And the students did a really great job looking at the intersectionality of the data and seeing, of those folks who identify as having a disability, their rates of experiencing discrimination. We can pull that, and I can get it to Robert so he can follow up with you on that. We also found a high level of intersection between homelessness and having a disability.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that information, and I'm glad that the Human Rights Commission is taking the initiative to address and help our disabled community. Thank you.
Any other questions? Well, thank you again for being here.
Yeah, if I could also just address one more thing. I know that we had brought up the 68% of unhoused respondents who said that they were unlikely to report a bias crime or incident to the Salem Police Department. And I do just want to recognize the amazing work that Officers Bennett and Officer Ramirez do in working and connecting with our unhoused population. If it weren't for them, I wholeheartedly believe that the number of people that would feel uncomfortable would be a lot higher. So there is work to do, but I don't want people to walk away from this thinking that the police department isn't doing, isn't making effort in helping address the homeless and housing crisis in the city of Salem. I would hope that the takeaway from this is that there's still significant work that we can do, but without the investments that Chief Womack and his team have made in helping to address the homeless population, I think we'd be in a lot worse of a state than we currently are. So,
thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, we are moving on to presentation, item 1.4B. Beth Schmidt is here to talk about safe routes to school. Just be sure to hit that button.
Good evening. My name is Beth Schmidt. I'm the Salem-Keizer Safe Routes to School Program Coordinator. Thank you, Madam Mayor, Councilors, and Ms. Nambury for having me here this evening. I'm going to make this one light and quick. This is just a recap of our program, Salem-Keizer Safe Routes to School. I first want to talk about it in a way that maybe not a lot of people understand what Safe Routes to School is, but it's a program that we help students to access education on how to walk or bike or how they roll to or from school. So we provide education in PE teachers teach pedestrian or bicycle safety education, and then we also go out and we help hold walking buses and bike buses and ways to support that education so students have an opportunity to learn how to safely navigate the infrastructure here in Salem. It's a very, very fun program, and it's one of my favorite jobs I've ever held. But I'm really excited this year for our progress we made, but also I'm looking forward to asking more parents to get involved, and so that's going to be my ask. Here we go. You all know how much I love talking with slides. Anyway, yay, there we are. Salem-Keizer Safe Routes to School. So this is just a wrap up of the 2024-2025 school year. As you can see here, we did a lot of fun things. Okay, while I'm sitting here waiting, I'm going to talk really quickly about the importance of partnership. And I'm really proud of our partnership with the City of Salem. I hope that everyone is aware of how last year I thought we were going to lose bicycle safety education, and fortunately Virginia Stapleton and Keith Staley came to my aid, and Keith was kind enough to help arrange Public Works to help me transport those trailers and store them. And that was a huge part of the program that we would have lost the opportunity to bring that bicycle safety education to students if I hadn't had that support. So I would really love to thank Brian Martin, Brandon Klukas, Adam Crowfoot, which that gentleman deserves an award for having to deal with me so much, but also John and Dan from Public Works. And I'm just going to get right through this. Here we are. Wish me luck. I can't make it work, I swear. Okay. Well, we did pedestrian safety education. And for for people who are wondering what that is, they can check out a pedestrian safety kit with Safe Routes to School. And you can see in there's a roadway, and there's crosswalks and cones and crosswalk signals. Those are just tools that are used to help teach the curriculum for pedestrian safety. We teach students how to cross the street, how you would look both ways, would you make eye contact with the driver. Simple tools that are given to our students so that they can get these tools and hopefully know how to best cross the street as they're going to school or going to the park or be with their family. Bicycle safety education right now it's a big deal. Kids are really hyped. We're going to do the same thing this year, but we did 6 schools that had bicycle safety education, and that's for 3rd through 5th grade. Many of you have been and supported me in that, and Madam Mayor has, and even road bikes. I appreciate your support. And we did a little Learn to Ride, which is kindergarten through 2nd grade. I'll talk about the voucher program, but we don't have time because we're just getting more kids on bikes. That's what you should know. Here's some of my partners. And the gentleman helping me to move those trailers around. There's John and Dan. Here's Public Works. I really want to thank, there's so many from the Salem Police Department, but also a special shout out, we're giving shout outs tonight, to Chief David Gerboth, who is also a bicycle rider himself, but he has come to so many schools and taught kids how to ride bikes and is very supportive. I think that's a fun outlet for him. It's something fun to do. We did public transit safety education, which is, I like to call a mobile classroom. We bring a bus to a school. Cherriots teach them how to take the bus, put their bike on and off the bus, and children learn how to get on and off the bus and the etiquette and how to use it. The biggest deal about that that's important to me is the amount of exposure. The principals at each of those schools had never ridden the bus before, so they got to ride the bus for the first time with the students. But the level of exposure is the biggest deal, and hopefully we continue to grow this part so that our students can learn how to navigate their world without the use of a car. Here's some community engagement events. We did a lot of those. It was really fun. I'm really proud of the partnership within the community. The biggest thing was really cool. We did a whole month with the City of Salem and Cherriots, and we did a bike month. That kept us very busy, but I think it was really fun, and I hope this next year we get to do it again and we get more kids on bikes. Here's some more events. We walked to school, we rode our bike. It was super fun. Okay, yeah, this is a little thing I did, and it was really fun, and apparently it's getting a lot of attention. Anyway. Sometimes I don't know my own, I don't know. But I really, I'll talk about it. I wanted to get the attention of drivers so that they could see that there are students crossing the street. So I did something overt and silly to get their attention. I was fortunate to be supported by the Salem Police and Keizer Police when I went to these school locations to have them patrol and keep me safe and make sure that nothing happened. This is going to be a developing part of the program. We'll see if we get to still do it. Here's some recognitions. We received the Mid-Willamette Valley Council of Governments Chair Choice Award, which I was already here to see you, Madam Mayor, and the Salem-Keizer Spotlight on Success. In also my time as the Safe Routes to School Coordinator, I worked with Senator Deb Patterson to pass Senate Bill 450, which acknowledges every November 14th as Ruby Bridges Walk to School Day around the state of Oregon. The bill passed and the governor signed it on June 20th, and every year in Oregon, we will now acknowledge Ruby Bridges on November 14th. I'm very proud of Oregon and their bipartisan support from all regions around Oregon, which made me really proud. And that's just what we're going to do this next year. We're going to keep doing the same thing. I would like to also just acknowledge Police Chief Trevor Womack, Assistant Chief Ditto, DC Deb Aguilar, DC Trevin Upkeys. So many, but just that they would come to my need, like right now in such a big way, and offer their help to me. I'm really appreciative of, I'm parking the trailer there right now. Their officer came and helped me move 350 helmets on Friday, just to know that, the City of Salem has amazing staff that want to help with our program, and just support the students is a really big deal, and I continue to be incredibly grateful for you all. Any questions?
Anyone have, yeah, Councilor Nishioka.
It's not a question, just always a pleasure to see you, and thank you for all you're doing to help our children be safe getting to and from school.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome.
Yes, I would ditto that. And it's just always lovely. The energy that you bring is contagious. So thank you for that.
I appreciate it. Your bicycle is all ready, I want you to know. I just need to get more parents and kids who can ride bikes with us. So as soon as I get that, we can ride bikes to school together, which is really fun.
That'll be fun.
But I really appreciate everyone's support. Thank you so much.
Keep me posted. I will. Thank you so much, Beth. Okay, we're moving on to public comment. We have 2 folks sign up. Please come forward to the podium when your name is called and announce your name, your address, or your ward for the record. Jean Hedren and Linnell Wilcox. Turn your mic on.
Should I go? Okay. Hi, my name is Linnell Wilcox, and I live in Ward 1. I'm one of the people who takes the annual belongings survey to the street so that people experiencing homelessness can participate. As we do the surveys, people drive by, they yell insults at the people who are homeless, they rev their engines, making it hard to hear each other talk, making it hard to even think. This is what many individuals experience every day. Many homeless individuals share that they're turned away from stores even when they're dressed cleanly and have money to spend. Many drivers stop and yell, "Get a job," as some of the people I'm speaking with are coming from or heading to their job. Some sheltered teens and adults specifically target people experiencing homelessness. I'm sure we've heard some of the stories. Last year, one teenager beat a 64-year-old homeless man to death. A business owner casually admitted that he dumps vomit, feces, and food onto homeless people on his property. How is that not violence? 2 young adults were recently arrested for throwing eggs at people experiencing homelessness. Men sleeping on sidewalks have shared that they sometimes woke up because some men are peeing on them as they sleep. The bar's lit out, and this is their idea of fun. There's so many situations like that I hear. None of this reflects a safe and livable environment for people experiencing homelessness. Businesses are also experiencing livability situations and safety concerns, mostly livability crimes, feces, broken windows, camping, fires, trash, petty theft, crimes that reflect people having nowhere to have basic human needs met, nowhere to sleep, eat, or live. Business owners should not have to clean those things up. They shouldn't have to have the risk of higher repair and insurance costs. They shouldn't have situations that make staff or their customers afraid to be at their businesses. And every human being should have the means and access to having basic human needs met. Both sets of experiences matter, but the scale is out of balance. Businesses are also underreporting situations because police don't have the capacity to respond or act on each situation, so people stop reporting. However, people experiencing homelessness are vastly underreporting the discrimination and violence that happen to them. They're afraid to report, they fear retaliation, they fear nothing can be done if they don't know details, they fear they won't be believed, and they often don't have phones or ways to keep their phone charged, so they can't make reports. The proposed recommendations for expanding and increasing safety and livability would enable improvements for people who are homeless, for businesses, and for the general public. So thank you for those common ground options to improve, and thank you for considering some additional options. People are having more situations of becoming homeless as DV situations happen, and women and men become homeless as a result. Rents and other things are rising beyond what people can afford. As a result, all of us will see and bear some ripples of homelessness. We have the sad yet crucial opportunity and responsibility to sort facts from myths and live up to our values and not down to our fears.
Ms. Wilcox, I apologize. Your
and
time
to
is
treat
expired.
everyone with dignity, respect, belonging and inclusion to reflect our city values.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for your testimony. Okay, we are moving on to the consent calendar. Oh, you want to do them now? Okay. All right, we have 2 people signed up to speak online. Bayard Mentrim and Kate Mentrim. They're not online? Okay. Okay, we don't see them online, so we will move on for now. Unless, oh, here they come. Okay, there we go. Please announce your name and your ward or your address for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak. You're muted. Can you unmute? We can't hear you yet. We still can't hear you, Kate. We still can't hear you. We'll move on to the next item, yes. And we'll come back to you, and hopefully you'll have that worked out. Now we're moving on to the consent calendar. Councilor Nishioka.
I move for approval of the consent calendar.
Second. Motion and a second by Gwynn. Councilor, to your motion.
Yes, thank you. The consent calendar consists of 3.1A, September 8th, 2025, City Council draft minutes, 3.1B, September 15th, 2025, draft City Council work session minutes, 3.2A, adopt resolution number 2025-20, authorizing a transfer of $42,700 in appropriations within the city's fiscal year 2026 budget, approving a project to replace the 2 HVAC units at the Shops Building number 24. That concludes the consent calendar.
Thank you very much. Any questions on any of that? Seeing none, will the recorder please call the roll?
Councilor Nordyke? Aye. Councilor Varney? Councilor Tigan is absent. Councilor Nishioka?
Aye.
Councilor Matthews?
Aye.
Councilor Gwynn?
Aye.
Councilor Brown?
Aye.
Councilor Vang?
Aye.
Mayor Julie Hoy?
Aye. Motion passes, and we're going to move on to public hearings. Go ahead and open the public hearing. Item 4A, the Program Year 2024 Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report.
The Salem City Council will now conduct a public hearing to receive testimony regarding the draft Program Year 2024 Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report. The hearing will begin with a staff presentation, followed by testimony from interested persons. Public testimony is limited to 3 minutes per person.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Michael Brown, Community Planning and Development, and also supervise the federal program staff. I'll lead with the very good news. We do now have a new federal programs manager who started about a month ago. So that's a very positive thing. And then the second piece of good news is 4 important words in the English language. I will be brief. This report is due to HUD by the end of September, and it reports on our previous program year, our program year 24, which was ran from 1 July of 2024 to 30 June of 2025. So by virtue of the fact that it's 3 months after the end of the program year, many of the things you see here you already well know. So here are the two big goals, of course, that we always have in our consolidated plan, which is addressing homelessness and expanding affordable housing, which were kind of the priorities of this program year 2024. And with respect to goal number 1, we're reporting 2,460 persons served for 3 different public service programs run by our community partners, one of whom was up here previously, which was the Center for Hope and Safety. Ms. Carson's group is routinely funded with using CDBG funds. Also, St. Francis Shelter does homeless case management, and Northwest Human Services does their youth host program to try to prevent homelessness among young folks. So that's the Community Development Block Grant public service portion that we typically award every single year. With respect to expanding affordable housing, as I said, most of these things you already know because they were reported to you when they first took place. Sequoia Crossings has been leased up for a while. This reflects the fact that we finally, in the federal database, closed that project for the city, and therefore now we end up reporting it. You, of course, know about the land acquisition that we made on Market Street with the idea of developing future affordable housing, and we still have 3 projects that are under construction at the moment. One of which is Applegate, is actually in the lease-up period right now. So next year, either myself or Mr. Lowe, the new program manager, will be standing up here saying that project is closed and is now leased up. That did not work the way it was designed. Okay, that's better. What I did here is I put these on 2 different scales so that it wouldn't confuse anybody as far as the level of spending. But as you can see on the left-hand side with the home and the home art draws that we made, almost all of that goes to construction subsidy for all those projects that were on that previous slide. And then on the bottom right, the draws for the Community Development Block Grant with respect to public service, admin, and a little bit of spending on public facilities. And it looks like this is not picking up the far right. And I'm not sure why. But whatever I just did didn't help. Okay, well, that's not visible. It's marked land acquisition, and we spent a little bit less than $800,000 on it. There should be a list of community partners and oh, there they are. I had no idea I had done all of these fancy things. And there they go. This is what you get for copying and pasting from the previous year's screen. So, as I mentioned, Northwest Human Services, Ms. Carson, and Center for Hope and Safety, Community Action Agency, lots and lots of people contribute to this. I get the pleasure of standing up here and saying this is what you spent money on. But nonetheless, they're the folks who are really doing the work. So what we do next is we take and by the way, I know you all have the report itself, and the report format is awful. It's the only way I can describe it. It's something that comes right out of the federal database, and then you have to try to massage it as best you can to make it reflect what has happened. You don't get to choose the categories that they group things in. But nonetheless, I know you have the report, and that report will go up to HUD, and they will have to do their review of it, and they will contact us if they've got any issues. I will be brief, and now I'm done.
You did great, and we're all suffering from the technological problems tonight. So thank you for your patience. Any questions? Yeah, Councillor Vang.
Thank you, Mayor. This isn't a question, but more so of a comment. I remember earlier this year giving public testimony in support of the city acquiring the land on Market Street. Yes. For affordable housing development, and so to see it kind of almost come to full circle, we're almost there. That's great to see, and to me, it demonstrates that the city is committed to continue to help build and create a robust, affordable housing environment. So, thank you for your hard work and bringing this report back to us.
Councillor Nishioka.
Thank you. Again, Michael, appreciate you being here. Great report. Really appreciate all of the partners and the work that the city does in making sure that they're putting the best use of these funds to use, and that you are overseeing them so that we can continue to get this funding and make sure we do all of the work that needs to be done so that we can continue the good work our partners do. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else? We don't have anyone signed up for public comment. Is there anyone in the room who would like to make comment? No? Okay. I'm going to close the hearing. Councillor Nishioka, to the motion.
Thank you. I move to authorize the submission of the draft program year 2024 CAPER to U.S. Housing and Urban Development at the end of the public comment period.
Second.
Councillor, to your motion, anything further?
I think we heard the wonderful report and probably don't need to add anything else unless others had questions.
Anyone? No? Okay. Will the recorder please call the roll?
Councillor Varney?
Aye.
Councillor Tigan is absent. Councillor Nishioka?
Aye.
Councillor Matthews?
Aye.
Councillor Gwynn?
Aye.
Councillor Brown?
Aye.
Councillor Vang?
Aye.
Councillor Nordyke?
Aye.
Mayor Julie Hoy?
Aye. Motion passes. Now we're moving on to special orders of business. Item 5A, the Planning Commission Annual Report. Michael Slater, is he here to present?
He left. I think it's just at this point, but it's no presentation.
No presentation? Okay, thank you. Moving on to item 5B, appointing the City of Salem's delegate to the League of Oregon Cities Annual Business Meeting. Oh, yeah. Okay, I move that City Council designate Council President Linda Nishioka as the city's delegate to the League of Oregon Cities.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Nordyke. To my motion, Councilor Nishioka, thank you for taking this on. I think it's going to be a great conference. Looking forward to it. And we do have that opportunity to vote. Thank you for taking responsibility for us.
Thank you. I've already checked in. I know when I need to be there. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you so much. Any questions? No? Will the recorder please call the roll?
Councillor Tigan is absent. Councillor Nishioka?
Aye.
Councillor Matthews?
Aye.
Councillor Gwynn?
Aye.
Councillor Brown?
Aye.
Councillor Vang?
Aye.
Councillor Nordyke?
Absolutely.
Councillor Varney?
Aye.
Mayor Julie Hoy?
Aye. Motion passes. And now we're moving on to item 5C, the presentation by Maria Hinojos Pressey, Salem Area Mass Transit District Board President, on Cherriots' proposed service enhancement and funding plan. Thanks for being here.
Of course, and with me is Shofi, who will also be able to speak to more of the technical pieces of this. But hello, good evening, everyone. I'm Maria Hinojos Pressey, the board president for the Salem Area Mass Transit District Board of Directors, and we're here to talk to you about our Creating Community Connections plan. I just want to start off a little bit by mentioning just some background on the fact that there are 3 mass transit districts in the state of Oregon. TriMet in Portland, Lane in Eugene, and Salem Area Mass Transit District, also known as Cherriots. When transit districts were first established back in the 60s, they were established to be funded with employer-paid payroll taxes. That's how Lane and TriMet are currently funded. Whenever Cherriots was founded in the 70s, they were specifically line item excluded from this funding source. So for over 40 years, Cherriots has been underfunded and compared to their transit district partners in the rest of the state. And the program that we're bringing forward to you today is well over 10 years in the making, but the authority to be able to access this revenue source and be able to execute this plan has been around for about 7 years now, thanks to the legislature back in 2018. So to speak on a little bit of our plan, I'll pass it over to Shofi.
All right, thank you, Maria. Good evening, Madam Mayor and other councilors. I'm here to present the service enhancements plan that Cherriots has prepared. Is that not working? Okay, sorry about that, technical difficulties. Cherriots offers services like local fixed route service within urban growth boundary, and our regional service goes outside the urban growth boundary. And we also offer complimentary paratransit service, also known as LIFT, for people with disabilities and seniors. In addition to that, we also offer van pool services, and in the last year, fiscal year 2025, we have delivered 3.6 million rides. And in the last 5 years, we have seen consistent increase of our ridership. In the last 5 years, we have reached out to our community, existing riders, and to understand how we can better serve our community. And we have heard from them, and then based on the feedback that we have received from the community, we have prepared this draft service enhancements plan. And as we speak, we're out here and we have open houses going on, so we're here to listen to our people to help us to prioritize the implementation of the service enhancements plan. And I'll get to that more detail after a few slides. So more than about 60% of our riders use our services about 5 times a week, and they're really relying on our services. And where do they go? For work, for doctor's appointments, for schools. And in addition to that, we have an association named American Public Transportation Association. They have done nationwide research, and they have concluded that if you use public transit instead of driving a car, you can save about $13,000 a year. So with that being said, public transit usage can also take the stress off of you and also give you some freedom, so you can do your trip planning whenever you want. And this is a testimony from Mr. Roger Bradford. He's a business owner in downtown Salem, and he uses our systems every day to come to work and to go back home. We brought an independent consultant to evaluate how we are doing and to evaluate our services. And they're nationally recognized. They have done this for hundreds of other transit agencies. And they have concluded that our riders are very satisfied with our fixed route services, and which is about 28% higher than the national average. And similar connotation with our Cherriots Lift service, which is our complimentary paratransit services, also highly rated by our existing riders. And one of the things that I'd like to mention that this service enhancements plan is the true reflection of the community needs from each one of your constituencies. And it reflects the community needs, and we're trying here to fill those gaps that we have right now. To implement our service enhancements plan, we will require some additional funding. And we are proposing at this point 0.7% of the payroll for the businesses. So what does that look like? At this point, we're looking for improving the service frequency for the weekdays to make it more available so that you don't have to wait for an hour. So we're replacing all the hourly routes with higher frequency routes, either 30 minutes or even 15 minutes. So that will help us to make our service more reliable and more user-friendly so people can actually rely on us. Even if you miss a bus, if the next bus is coming in 15 minutes, you can still bet on that. A significant amount of feedback that we have received from our community about the weekend service. So on the weekdays, we have really good, strong service in the core area. But on Saturdays, it's really less frequency service. On Sundays, it's pretty much bare minimum skeleton version of our service. So the true reflection, the community want us to double our services, what we have on the weekends. So this service enhancements plan addresses this frequency issue, the coverage issue. Many of those routes we're going to be activating in those areas where people requested to activate on the weekends. And this enhancements plan includes introduction of new technology. So that will help us to move our buses more quickly so that people will have pretty much comparable to the car trip with the technology like traffic signal priority. In addition to that, we brought also some new technology that will help people to know where the bus is, and this will also help us to improve the on-time performance and also improve the reliability of our system because people can track where the bus is so that they exactly know where it is and how they need to make their trip planning. And we're also focusing on improving safety at the bus stops. And also that includes addition of new bus shelters, maybe lightings if appropriate. So that will help us also improving the sense of safety at the bus stops. There are several studies across the country that we have seen once we increase the frequency and make sure that bus stops are accessible, that includes the ADA accessibility. People are very much likely to use the system. So our plan reflects those things. And I would like to show, if I can go back to the service enhancements plan. Do you have that pulled up somehow? I'd like to show you visually what exactly I'm talking about. It can summarize, yep. Can they see that? Okay. All right, thank you so much. And we have prepared, this is available, publicly available, so if you go to ridecherriots.org, these informations are publicly available, and you can specifically look at your jurisdictions, what kind of improvements we're talking about. So you can zoom in, and you can look at your corresponding areas. So this is what we have right now, and if you move this cursor, and you will see what improvements that we're talking about. So just move this around, and you see all those dashed area, hashed areas. So those are new service type, on-demand microtransit service that we're proposing where fixed route is not a viable option. And also this is gonna give us more access to the neighborhoods and communities. Similar to that, we have increased our frequency significantly. That will help us to increase the service level by 24%. And likewise, for the weekends, you can move this cursor and see what improvements that is proposed in this service enhancements plan. So you can explore that at your convenience. Can you go back to the previous slide? And it's available in ridecherriots.org. Okay, so this is another testimony from Parker Schmidt, and a lot of students use our services, and there are a lot of Parkers who use it to go to colleges, and he was at the time a student of Shamakata Community College, and he used to use our service a lot for his day-to-day activities. And I'd like to conclude. Please go ahead and complete the survey that we have. And you can scan the QR code, or you can go to the Cherriots.org to complete the survey and help us to prioritize what matters to you and to your constituencies most. And we can work on that, and we can shift around the priorities. As of now, this is still a draft plan, and we're going to finalize our plan once we hear from everyone. And I'd like to conclude my presentation with another quote and testimony from our operator, John Welch, and how Cherriots as a family changed his life. It's more than his job. It is part of family. That's how we belong. Our Cherriots is a family, and we treat our customers as a high priority. Thank you. I'll take any question you might have.
Anyone have questions? Councillor Gwynn.
So you mentioned a ridership of 3.4 million last year. I was just curious, how many of those are Lyft clients versus the big buses?
I think the Lyft, and forgive me if I'm like a few thousand off, I think it's over 100,000 is Lyft customers in the last year, and total rider was 3.6 million. Yeah.
Councillor Matthews.
So with this tax, is it something that's going to go to the voters ultimately then?
No, this is a tax that is passed by ordinance with the Board of Directors.
Okay, so the Board of Directors are just putting it directly on the constituents. Yeah. So with that, and I was just looking through, and I actually got this from the Salem Reporter article, so I was kind of reading it earlier today, but it's kind of preparation for this. I was noticing it sounds like it's about 39 million that will come as part of this. Is that right? So the only reason I bring up this number is there was obviously a payroll tax a while back that was, I think, going to bring the city about 28 million, and that was fairly heavily rejected. And so kind of knowing that is 39 million, and obviously that 28 million was kind of proposed for homelessness, it was proposed for public safety, kind of a multitude of different layered pieces. Is there 39 million, is that kind of like the number, or is there a potential that this could be a little lower?
We are still negotiating the rate. Right now, that 39 million comes from a rate of 0.007.
What was the reason you guys selected? I'm sorry, Mayor, I'm kind of just going off. What was the reason you guys selected 0.007?
To be able to successfully fund the level of need and operations that we've heard. For example, what Shofi indicated, a quick thing that we would be able to see is an increase in our Sunday service. It would be like 138% increase in our current service. To be able to achieve that, that's the amount of funding that we would need.
Gotcha. And then I think this is kind of my last question, but knowing that obviously this is a business tax, it sounds like, is that right? This would go against businesses on their payroll?
Correct.
So for instance, like the city of Salem, will we be subject to this tax? We're kind of the largest employer in town, one of the largest.
Some of the governmental agencies are exempt, and 501c3 organizations are also exempt.
Gotcha. Okay.
Councillor Nishioka.
Thank you. I've listened to excellent presentation, thank you. I have listened to a couple others, but you mentioned technology, that there's going to be some new technology. Could you maybe just tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of that new addition that we don't have is microtransit service. So it's an app-based service that's going to be very flexible. It doesn't have any fixed route. It doesn't have any fixed schedule. If you need this service, and as long as you live in those service area or zone that we call, you can book your ride same day, day before, or you can schedule your ride for your doctor's appointment for the rest of the month, something like that. So it's open to all, and where the Lyft service, which you have to go through eligibility criteria. So let's say you are not eligible for Lyft service, but you can still use this. And this kind of technology, we don't have this kind of service at this point, but this gives more option to people. And these are the services that will attract new riders. And these are the services that will potentially benefit the businesses where we don't have any fixed route services, right? It's impossible to provide fixed route everybody's back door. So we are complementing our services with increasing the frequency and coverage with fixed route and augmenting it with these kind of services, for example, microtransit. And we're also working on introducing, if we get the money, bike share. So that will also bridge the gap of those areas where we don't have any fixed route service, or maybe in the first and last mile connections. Let me break it down for you. So that we have heard from many people, hey, the nearest bus stop is about a mile away from mine. I'm not going to send my kids and during the rain and like walking there, so about a mile or even 0.5 miles. So these new innovative services will help us to bridge those gaps. And if your trip is just within the zone and then it's less than a mile or whatever it is, you can make the trip directly from origin to destination. So we're offering more flexibility through the innovation, and it's going to fit your lifestyle, not the other way around. So we're offering both options to people. It's like a restaurant. We're giving you all the menu, and that everybody will have piece of pie. So let's put it this way. So that's the biggest thing that I'd like to share using this platform. So it's not just the existing riders. This plan will benefit the new riders or the people who don't use it now, but once we have those new options, they will likely to use that. And the traffic signal priority, that is another thing. So it's basically extending the green light when you are at intersection, so that way our buses will get the priority over other vehicle. So that will ultimately help us to, like, say, if you drive, it'll take maybe 12 minutes, and if you use transit, it'll take maybe 13 or 14 minutes, and then you don't have to pay all the gas price and the ownership of the car, and many other technologies. So that's why we're asking to help us to prioritize what technology or what services that you would like us to implement. So I can go on, but for the sake of time, there are many other technologies that we're planning to introduce to make people's life easier and move Salem and connect it to the opportunity.
Thank you.
Councilor Bain.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a couple of questions, so if I can, I'll just kind of ask them, firing away at you guys. So I appreciate you guys coming and presenting this information to council, and you had mentioned earlier in your presentation about Cherriots hosting some listening sessions. Can you kind of share with us when these listening sessions are happening and where might we go to attend these listening sessions?
Yeah, absolutely. So
we had one earlier today at Keizer Transit Center. We kicked off on September 8th in the Senator Hearing Room. The next one coming up is going to be Tuesday, September 30th. That's going to be the last one out of the 4 that we've had this month. It's going to be at the Seymour Center from 2:30 to 5:30 on Portland Road. We tried to move them around to different locations so that way folks could, like, we would meet folks where they're at instead of having everyone have to come to the Senator Hearing Room.
And when we're talking about Cherriots and kind of the district that we're talking about, that includes Salem, it sounds like it includes Keizer. Mm-hmm. Does that include some of the surrounding smaller communities too?
Well, this investment will be specific to the Salem urban growth boundary. Gotcha. That's the majority of our service, but we do also operate regional routes, and so like the Monmouth Independence Trolley or like the 1X to Wilsonville and things like that, but this investment will stay in the Salem urban growth boundary.
Gotcha. And I appreciate you guys pulling up the visual representation of the map and kind of the service enhancement. Can you guys explain to me a little bit about how long has Saturday service been operating in Cherriots history?
We had Saturday service, and we recently reinstituted it in 2021. Yes, in 2021.
What about Sunday service?
That one was
at the same time. So we didn't have weekend service for almost 10 years because there was no funding for that. And because of stiff funding available back in 2017, and once we got that money, we were able to implement, the first thing that we implemented was weekend service. So we implemented both Saturdays and Sundays in 21 and I guess 22.
As well as holiday service.
Holiday services also included.
Gotcha. 10 years?
Yeah, there was
oh gosh, okay. So I get that. I think that leads me to my next question, which is, so when you're talking about enhanced service, I know you brought up the visual representation, but can you guys explain to me, in a couple of words, what does enhanced service mean for weekend service or weekday service? Like, kind of, what does that include?
I think the easiest one to call out is on Sundays. So not all of our bus routes operate on Sundays, and not all of our bus routes operate on the regular quote-unquote frequency. So right now we have 15-minute service, 30-minute service, and 60-minute service. Your bus that might normally come every 15 minutes on the weekday might come every 30 minutes or once an hour or not at all on a Sunday. With this service enhancement, we would be able to have those exact routes running on Sundays, those exact routes running on Saturdays. An enhancement during the weekday would mean that we would take all of our routes that are running 60 minutes to running no later than 30-minute service. So you would see buses come by more often, and it would be something that people are able to use. An example that I have is that the bus route right next to my house only comes once an hour. So if I miss it, I am out of luck.
And then I guess my last question is, so it sounds like Cherriots' proposal is trying to better connect the city with each other. Is that an accurate assessment, or am I just like totally off base?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Right now, everything gets routed through downtown. So if you live in South Salem and you want to go to North Salem for whatever reason, you have to go South Salem downtown to like Keizer down, or maybe like downtown to Chemeketa, and then figure out a different way to get to North Salem. What we want to do is be able to make it so you can get to where you're going in a much faster way.
Thank you. I appreciate the answers to my questions. Thank you.
Anyone else? I do have a question. The innovation services, I think you called it, is that an app? What is that going to be? Can you just explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, sure. That's called micro transit service. It's an on-demand service. It's going to be a smaller vehicle, but shared, publicly shared. So, it's going to be most likely be cutaway style, 26 foot long. Those can not the big buses, smaller vehicle type. The difference is it doesn't have any fixed schedule, or it doesn't have any fixed route. So we're capitalizing on the technology, the algorithm that we have in the market, so they can customize and optimize people's needs. So once we get the request from many people, so it develop a route, how we can move those people in the best possible way using the best resource as well, so that it develops who to pick first and then drop next. So this algorithm helps us to optimize our resources, and also this is going to be very affordable. It's not going to be expensive as Uber.
How do people request it?
And people can request it using the app. So there is likely going to be an app. Then you can book your reservation same day before, or if you don't like app, you can always call our customer service. They will help you to reserve the ride. So we have both options available. Will be. We don't have it right now, but will be. And another piece that I missed, the technology piece, I mentioned fixed route, on-demand service, bike share, and City of Salem now have parking. So one of the proposal here is to have one seamless payment system. So one platform to pay all of it. So that system will help us if we have that app that we're proposing, that you can pay your parking, you can pay for fixed route, you can pay for biking, you can pay for microtransit, paratransit, everything. So that way, as a rider, you don't have to go 5 different places to pay. So one location for all. So that is another technology that we're proposing.
Thank you. Just one more question, and I believe it's called microtransit.
Yes.
Has anyone figured out what it would cost to maybe just do that?
just do that for our
just
city.
do that for our city.
So it's a phenomenal technology, but it has some limitation as well. So it depends on situation, what problems you're trying to solve. In a certain situation, it's a perfect fit, but not always the case. So the best way it works is if you complement fixed route. So,
sorry, let me stop you for just a second, because I'm not suggesting not having fixed route.
Yeah.
I'm just suggesting what might it cost to just add this feature to what we currently have.
we are doing a study at this point to come up with exact cost estimate. So we'll be able to provide that answer maybe next year. So as we speak, we're doing the study to design the system and the cost, number of vehicle requirements and operator requirements, the total cost, and all the details is currently being worked on. So I'll be able to answer that probably once we conclude the study.
Great, thank you for that. Anyone else? Well, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
And thank you for your patience. It's getting late. Yeah. All right. Moving on then to information reports. I'll just run through these. If you have any questions or thoughts, please just raise your hand and stop me. Item 6A, purchases approved administratively from August 1st, 2025 through August 31st, 2025. Item 6B, planning administrator decision, an application for 5-lot subdivision, approved. Item 6C, I'm sorry, Councilor Gwynn, go right ahead.
On 6C, I talked to Lisa about this earlier today. I'm only bringing this one to everyone's attention because it's a variance for the removal of a significant tree. And this was a situation, I believe, where a builder removed a tree a little early, and some neighbors brought it to the attention of planning, and so there was a stop order of work. So basically what I wanted to say is thank you to the neighbors who brought this to the attention of the city so that we can correct the situation. But ultimately, if you see something, say something. So that's all I want to say.
Item 6D, update on the pending deep drawdown of Detroit Reservoir. And yes, Councilor Nishioka.
Yes, thank you. I know that this is an information item. It is a pretty hefty item, and I feel that it might be important, instead of just us reading the summary, to have Mr. Martin or one of his staff come and just give us a brief update so that we can be kept informed of what's going on at this time.
I think that's a great idea. Director Martin?
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. Brian Martin, Public Works Director. It's getting late, not glappy, but happy to provide an update here on the Detroit drawdown. I think the most important thing we wanted to share with this council is we concluded our testing. So at the last meeting, we talked about the pilot testing that we were doing, trying to evaluate the impacts of what sediments would do to our slow sand filters. And it was as projected, maybe a little bit worse than we thought. Basically, if the turbidity levels that we're going to leave Detroit would be something greater than our treatment plant can handle, we'd be forced to rely on the alternate sources completely. Those alternate sources we've talked about were adding additional groundwater wells at Guerin Island, using our aquifer storage and recovery system in South Salem. We have 2 interties with the city of Keizer. One is ready to go at any point in time. The other one needs a pump station to be added. So those are the things that we are doing to provide the resiliency in case we can't use our water treatment plant. What we learned was, typically when we run a slow sand filter, we can get about 2 to 3 months worth of filter run time on it before we have to shut it down and clean it, which that cleaning is the scraping of the surface and then restarting that filter back up and growing the biological layer. What the tests show were that we dropped down to a threshold of 50 NTU which is significantly higher than what we would ever see in the Santiam River unless there's a significant storm event in the wintertime, but significantly lower than what the other South Santiam River users saw when the drawdowns were done in 2023 and 2024. So the results showed that we could only get run times of about 15 to 20 days before we'd have to stop the filter and scrape it. We could do that about 3 times, and then by the 4th time we'd only get 1 day and the filter was completely unusable, which that means an unusable filter is we have to remove whatever sand is left and start all over again. Bad news. However, we did have a very positive meeting with the Corps of Engineers in August, and they've heard us. They appreciated the study that we had done because we were not just providing a theoretical what might happen. We actually had the data to show this is what will happen. And so they're going to use that data as they formulate this supplemental environmental impact statement. And they gave us some good news in that they're going to have a trigger for turbidity. We've told them anything greater than 10 NTUs is going to be bad for our system. They're looking at adding that trigger into the environmental impact statement of if it hits 10, we shut the drawdown, or we stop the drawdown and start filling. So that's good news in that they've recognized that. They want to work with us on it. It doesn't mean that the turbidity doesn't go above 10. It just means it hit that point. It could still be building. But the fact they stop it means that even if it is building, the period of time in which it would build would be lessened so that the time we would need to have our filters out of service would be less. The other thing they shared is that the drawdown originally was planned to be 3 to 4 weeks. They're recommending only 2 weeks. So even with it, it's a shorter period of time. We thought that was for us, but we learned just this last week that they're doing that in 2025 for the other drawdowns to Green Peter and Lookout Reservoir. So what they began doing about a month ago was hosting meetings, monthly meetings to prepare for the 2025 drawdown in these other locations. They invited us to sit into those meetings so we could hear how they're preparing, and we learned that 3 to 4 week time frame is down to 2 weeks for basically all the reservoirs. And then lastly, they've talked to us, and we've shared this before, rather than doing a full drawdown 1 year, they're looking at stepping it over multiple years so that the exposure to the sediments wouldn't be so great the first year, but working with a smaller sediment load would allow them to control it better so that we don't see this huge flush of sediments the first year. So we think it's positive. All the data we've given them, they've acknowledged it, they've appreciated it, and they seem to be taking steps to work with us to minimize the impact to us as much as possible. So I think things look good now. I will say that preparing a draft EIS and then taking it out for public comment and getting responses on it, things could change, and so we need to watch it closely as that draft actually gets published so that we can actually review it. So we'll be keeping an eye on it. We'll continue to work with them, but we feel heard and we feel they're going to do what they can to try and work with us.
Yes, Councilor Nishioka.
Thank you. And in the meantime, you're also getting prepared for it.
We are getting prepared, yes. Yeah, thank you. So the driller has already started drilling wells. We've got quotes on not only the well drilling, but also the pumps that would go with the wells. So we're getting contractors lined up. Having the well driller start drilling the wells will help and better inform us how much water we can actually expect to get out of those wells. So we have a theoretical hope of potentially 3 million gallons a day per well. We don't know if we can sustain that, so once they start drilling and testing those wells, it'll really tell us what we can get. And we may find out that once you drill 2 or 3 wells, you can't really get much more gain because those wells are taking about all they can and a 4th well isn't needed. So we'll be doing it in steps to make sure that we optimize what we can get from the groundwater.
Thank you.
Councilor Nordyke.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Brian. The fact that we're here and we're talking about it publicly is, in and of its own right, hugely important. So I want us to continue. I want to hear early and often from you and your team. I know every member of council wants to see this done as effectively as we can. We are responding to a court order. We're responding to a drawdown. The drawdown was not our idea. And I think it's worth reminding folks that the history, which is set forth in the council report, is something that I think everyone should read, really, because this all resulted in a National Marine Fisheries Service. Didn't even know that was a thing, but you learn new things all the time as a counselor. I think Counselor Varney probably knew. She's a fish biologist, but for the rest, she's nodding like, oh yeah. But for the rest of us out there, that national service required the Corps to conduct these deep drawdowns in order to improve fish passage. So that's the backdrop. That's what you and your team are responding to. And I want you to continue to speak early and often to as many groups of people in the community as possible. So for example, our Salem-Keizer School District, heavy users of our water. Our kids depend upon safe, clean water to drink, and young children are so much more susceptible to waterborne illnesses as are other individuals who may be medically fragile at the opposite end of the age spectrum. I see that in the staff report, every neighborhood association has been offered a presentation, which is great, and that staff have visited 10 neighborhood meetings so far. That's great. I would encourage you, about a quarter, as you know, a quarter of our population is Hispanic. So I urge you to make sure that we are also offering these presentations to organizations that serve our Latino population, our Polynesian, Micronesian, Islander populations, and others who don't speak English as their first language. Can you tell me what outreach you're doing to our non-English speakers in town?
I don't think we've reached out to anyone but the neighborhood associations at this time or specific groups that have asked for presentations. So we'll have more to do in those areas.
Anyone else? Yes, Councilor Varney, go ahead.
Thank you very much. My battery's running low here, so I hope you guys can still hear me. First of all, Director Martin, thank you for all the preparation you all have been doing, and I really like that turbidity trigger. It's wonderful that you're looking at options to help, to really cause them to look at it and get them to agree to things that will help lessen the impact on us. I still really struggle with the justification for them even doing it based on a lot of information I have and lacking reports like the USACE study on survivals. So I guess what I would like is for us to not only stay involved, collaborate with others to really keep on top of this. And when the EIS, when the environmental impact study becomes available, please let me know. I mean, I'm interested in commenting and staying on top of it. Because I don't know what the Corps' goals are, what their performance measures are, if they're going to evaluate this every year, and what they're going to use to do it. So I have a lot of questions. So thank you for what you're doing, and I plan to stay engaged on it. Thank you.
Anyone else? I did have a question. You talked about when a filter goes bad. How much does it cost to replace?
If we were to completely resend a filter, it's about $3 million.
Okay, thank you for that. Yes. And how long does it take?
Anywhere between 3 and 6 months to get it operational again.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the question. Anyone else? Okay, thank you, Director Martin. We're moving on to item 6E. It's the update on the North Santiam Sewer Project and the 3 Basin rulemaking by the Oregon Environmental Quality Commission. Councilor Nishioka.
I told Mr. Martin not to go very far. Again, appreciate an update. Just kind of verbally tell us what's going on. And again, these are all quite important to the public, so.
So I'm going to start at a very high level. I'm also going to ask that Jason Pulley come down and get close to me here so he can talk about more details. So basically this 3-basin rule is a rule that's been in place since the 1970s to protect the drinking water of for the Clackamas River, the Mackenzie River, and the Santiam River. And the reason those rivers were chosen is because they serve the 3 largest metropolitan areas in the state, being Portland, Salem, and Eugene. So anyway, this rule has been in place a very long time. Things have changed since the 1970s. Treatment processes have gotten better. There's better technologies. So having a look at this rule is not a bad thing. What really has advanced this further is the fact that a decision was made by the Supreme Court called the Maui decision, which basically says that any discharge of wastewater into the ground that gets to groundwater is equivalent to a discharge directly to the river. So they're looking at it saying that the groundwater eventually is going to flow to a river or to an ocean, to a water body. So even though you take that wastewater and you inject it into the ground, it's still going to make it to a water body like a direct discharge would be. So that rule or that decision was placed, and it put the 3-basin rule into a catch-22. The 3-basin rule says no new discharges to those 3 water bodies. Marion County was proceeding with a project where they were going to inject it in, take the wastewater through multiple treatment processes before they inject it into the ground. That would have been allowed prior to the Maui decision by the Supreme Court because the Department of Environmental Quality for the state could have approved that permit. When the Maui decision came into effect, and all of a sudden this is a direct discharge, if they were to approve that permit, they would actually be approving a direct discharge to the rivers, which the 3-basin rule does not allow. So it put them at a point of conflict. After the fires up in the canyon back in 2020, as you all know, a lot of the homes and facilities were destroyed. Most of the people up there are on septic systems. Mill City is actually on what's called a step system where they have septic tanks, but the liquids actually flow into a sewer pipes that then go to a infiltration facility that sits right on the bank of the Santiam River. The Santiam River happens to be our drinking water source, although it's 10 or 15 miles downstream. The technology that they are proposing, which is I think it's you got 3 steps of treatment. 3 steps of treatment before they inject the wastewater into the ground, half mile away from where the Santiam River is far superior to the systems that they have in place now in Mill City. On top of it, any homes that are using septic systems close to the Santiam River, or if they were to get permitted for new ones, that's not nearly as effective of a treatment system as what the city of Mill City is proposing. So as they brought us into their project initially, our obvious concerns are, we want to work with you, but we want to make sure our drinking water is protected. And through experts that we've hired, we've had we've had outside legal counsel helping us. We believe technically what they're proposing is going to be far superior to what they have now. It'll actually be a benefit to us to have them switch to that system versus using the current systems that they're currently using. So Jason Pulley here worked with Marion County. He worked with the Environmental Quality Commission to help advance the legislation that, in fact, I think the public comment just ended here yesterday. So Jason's been working with them. He can provide more details on it, but the bottom line is we're in support of this. We think it's going to be better for the health of the river, and there's just steps that we're going through now to get that rule amended. So anything else you'd like to hear on that rule? Because we can have Jason provide more detail.
Thank you very much.
Anything else? Looks like no. Thank you so much. And thank you for being ready, Jason Pulley. Appreciate that. Okay, we are moving on to item 6F, updated Salem City Council committee assignments. We have no ordinances, no first reading, no second reading. Do we still have 2 folks online for public comment or no? Yes. Okay, great. Bayard Mentrum and Kate Mentrum. I'm sorry, Kate, we can't hear you. I don't know. I don't know why. I'm so sorry. There you go. Yeah, can you, it was that. Kate, if you haven't already, please submit in writing so we can get that, okay? Perfect, thank you. And the same for Bayard, I'm assuming? Great. Thank you so much for your patience. Okay, I think he's not here. We also have Kathleen Trepa.
Can you hear me? Yes. Kathleen Trepa, Ward 7. I have thought a lot about the livability workshop, and since there's no public comment during workshops, I wanted to provide public comment this evening. So I wanted to start by recognizing the staff leadership team for all of their efforts. They are trying very hard with very limited and constrained resources to develop new or modify existing programs to help mitigate the impacts associated with addiction, homelessness, and crime. The public safety departments are overworked and under-resourced, and I would imagine that all of your departments are saying that. There's never enough in the best of times, never mind in trying times. And sadly, I think federal funding cuts will only get worse, and we will see more families struggle, which means that we'll see more homeless, more crime, and quite frankly, more desperation as we move forward. I would also like to give a shout out to the interim city manager, in particular for diffusing what I thought was a rapid escalation in tension during the workshop when a counselor suggested that the city should try to fund an additional 20 police officers, even though the staff recommended a much smaller number for some very specific programs. The city can't afford 20 police officers, so I don't know where this counselor was during budget discussions, but I am vastly relieved that the community passed the levy in support of community service programs to make sure that they were still able to exist. It should be no surprise to hear that I do not believe putting more police officers on the street will result in a reduction in crime. As the public safety chief said during the livability workshop, they are vital partners in these efforts, but they're not the primary leads. Police and fire are primarily reactive. They respond, they do not prevent. And we won't see a reduction in crime, addiction, or homelessness until we tackle the root causes that lead to those issues. Housing affordability, social service support, universal health care, access to affordable daycare, livable wages. We need to focus on programs that support families and individuals, which is far more effective and costs less than funding intervention once problems arise. I'll share also a personal observation. I spent a lot of time in Spain. I'm half Spanish. That's where half my family lives. I was in Spain for 3 weeks traveling the country in the summer of 2024. Spain has one of the strongest economies in Europe. During my travels, I could count on one hand in 3 weeks the number of unhoused or addicted that I saw on the streets. The streets were strikingly clean, in sharp contrast to the US West Coast. Medical care and food are much cheaper. And why? Because as a society, they have prioritized the betterment of the community as a whole rather than the enrichment of the few. They have universal health care, paid family leave, 4 to 6 weeks of mandatory paid vacation, and a free educational system that surpasses the US in quality and has for years. We will not achieve that type of society with trickle-down economics and the escalation of a police state. We will only be able to create a better community if we focus on lifting up our neediest residents to give them the support that they need to make a better lives for themselves and their families. And in response to your proclamations earlier this evening, thank you very much, because I think immigrants help make America better. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. All right. If there's nothing further, we are adjourned.